I'm working on. Oh, let's see. Am I muted? No, I'm not. I'm gonna turn. I'll mute,
Look
and
at
then
that
I gotta get my
glorious
camera working here.
beard.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to AOS R&D with Rob and Dale, and we have today two guests,
Another Rob and another D.
another R and another
We got a
D.
Ricky. We got a Ricky and a Tan.
Ugh.
So it's two D's and two R's. It's
So-
also, I just noticed we have the evolution of the beard going on. We have like the scruff, then we have Rob with like a little bit more, and then Dan with like a nice healthy beard, and then you have Ricky with the beard.
The beard.
The beard.
He is part man, but mostly beard. So welcome. We're talking Gloomspite Gitz today. We've got two very special guests. Huge friend of the channel, Dan Gschwind, is with us today. Am I pronouncing that, by the way, right?
It's just Gschwind.
Oh, it's Gschwind.
It's okay.
Dang it.
Everybody jacks it up.
I've just been saying it for so
they
long.
forgot vowels.
And then, yeah, they're like, vowels. We don't need them. And Ricky Fischer, you want to introduce Ricky, buddy? Dan or Dale?
It's Ricky Fisher is from the Pacific Northwest. He's been kicking around since the Warhammer times, playing Gitz, Night Goblins, even then. And Ricky used to do, still does every now and then, the Dimensional Cascade. They did a podcast for Warhammer and a little bit during AOS. So Ricky, again, he's like one of the top painted players in the US. At the minute, he's usually ranked in the top 5, I think.
Very strong player, very well known locally in the Northwest for sure. Dan, a very strong player. You've been killing it with Gitz lately out east as well. So we are. I know the least about Gitz. I love them, and I've been playing them like crazy, and they are, I think, maybe the fun.
You're the token tourist before you go back to Seraphon.
What I normally do is I normally ask questions. Yeah, and when Seraphon come out, like I don't like the way they play right now. I just love the.
We were mocking him earlier. There was that brilliant picture of that new skink guy on the chair, and it looks like he's on a cell phone on a toilet.
Yes, that is the meme. I've seen that a few times. I've actually seen two different pictures of the skink star priest, or not, it's not the star priest. It's the Starseer on the toilet. Like two different Photoshop versions of that.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So we'll do like a quick, we'll talk about what they've been showing. So the rumor engine today, someone just said it's Space Dwarves. I thought it looked like the Sisters of Battle, the Canoness, or one of them. I'm not sure which one it is, but like they have like a lot of sleeves that kind of go way down far. But
I think it's an AOS veterinary surgeon, and he's here to do some examinations on some beasts of chaos with that thick rubber glove.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it could be.
I think for my guess would be KO on the Wolves.
I think it's 40K, but I hope I'm wrong because we're not all about that here. But yep, and then as mentioned, we have the Skink Starseer was shown. This is a picture of him looking at his cell phone. And then there's also a picture, actually, that he's not actually looking at his cell phone, but the first time I saw it, someone already said it. Someone said it like before I even saw the picture. And then I was just like, wait, is he actually looking at some kind of cell phone? Like, I didn't even know.
He's on Lizardman Grinder, just like flicking his
Hey, I mean, yeah. Like, you do what you got to do.
Do you know what? Seraphon seem to be getting a chunk of stuff coming. Like, that's a new slan. That's
All
saying you got
the
Astral
fine
area.
cast is
You got, yeah.
gone. We
It's
haven't
interesting.
we haven't seen a what's the guy with the spines? A Razor Dawn yet. But like everything we've seen so far has been some kind of fine cast model. And then there's the old plastic crappy looking Saurus Warriors. Honestly, that's the biggest glow up to me by far so far.
You think they'll do the whole line?
I don't think they'll do the whole line because we've got Bastillodons, we've got, you know, the Krokgar, Carnosaur, Troglodon kit. Those are all pretty new. The Pterodons. I actually don't think we're gonna get regular skinks because the skinks kind of hold up. Like I
think like the Bastillodons and stuff like that do as well. They're actually pretty decent.
That's
like,
what I'm saying.
The
Those are all
dinosaurs
new.
are pretty cool.
Those are all new. So yeah, absolutely. I would really like to see a skink, like a skink priest or skink, what do you call him, chief on like Pterodon, like we had back in the fantasy days.
We got those new raptors.
We've got those new, the skink guys on the, what did they call them? Like the ones with the frills, right? Yeah, they're pretty cool. So I guess some new
those models are sick.
They're honestly everything is killing it so far. I am so jazzed. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. But yeah, so should we just get into Gitz? Because like, I think this is going to be a little bit of a long one. And
again, it's not a full book review because obviously you can get those a dime a dozen nowadays.
People have kind of
us chatting through the book and talking about our thoughts. We're all like, I know Ricky's a very big Trog player. Dan kind of plays a mixture of both. You've done a lot of Trog stuff, but you've also done a mix of Gitz. I'm a squig boss. Let's do squigs. And Rob does spiders.
I do spiders, and I actually trolls were like my second thing, and I've mostly been playing squigs just because like I don't have them painted on so I can't really use them in battle reports. So
just heard is the word.
I've been playing everything. Yeah. So we've got so I'll bring up the PDF.
Heard is the word, baby. Heard is the word.
Squig herd are really strong.
I need to re-record that song just so I can play it during games and bug the hell out of people.
Yo, thanks for joining us, Keith, Ludivicus, Warpstone, Robin, everyone we've got here. Appreciate you guys coming along. So we're not going to go through everything. I have the entire book ready for us, though. So if we want to look at any particular war scroll or rule, etc., we can go through it and then kind of give our thoughts. Oh, by the way, is my mic okay? Apparently last week I was too quiet on the stream. So let me know if the levels aren't right, and I will try and talk into the mic as much as possible. But yeah, so I was thinking we'll go through it and we can kind of do what we normally do. It's kind of nice, like, so us not getting stuff ahead of time is kind of a double-edged sword because we're not getting it ahead of time, so we don't get to see the book ahead of time. But then we also let things settle, because I remember before the book came out, after everything had leaked, everyone's going, "Oh my God, trolls, 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 trolls," and now everyone's talking about squigs. Like that's all we hear now, right? So it's kind of cool that now that things have settled a bit, we can kind of talk about them a little bit more with a little bit more knowledge, right? So what are your guys' thoughts so far? I'll go left to right if that's okay with you, Ricky. I'll just kind of do it like a page, at least for now. What are your guys' thoughts like overall so far? Starting with Dan, what do you think?
Well, so at first I was actually knee-jerk reaction. I was upset about the book because I initially thought it was just all squigs all day, and then the more I dove into the book, and the more I dove into the book, and the more I dove into the book, you can actually, I think, you can play any of the clans or the factions that are in the book, and they all work. That's the weakest of them, unfortunately, still is the spider fangs, in my opinion, but they're still playable. I mean, I love it to death. You can. One of my favorite parts about Gitz is you can literally play squigs for 3 months, get bored with them, then switch to trolls, and then switch to Moon Clan, and then switch to spiders, and then if you're bored with all of them, you mix them up, and then you just never get bored. And then you never get bored with painting it, because if you're bored with painting and rebuilding it, you do what I'm doing now, where I'm putting wings on squigs or just all kinds of crazy crap. It's amazing. It looks amazing.
Well said. Very well said. Dale?
Yeah, so it's probably one of the most diverse. I'd also say it's the same with the Daughters of Cain, where it's like there is no real terrible units. There's like definitely some units that aren't going to be seen as much, but like you can go full squigs, you can go full trogs, you can go full grots. But like I've not even looked at doing my I've got a couple of mixed lists written up, but I've not even tried any. Like I haven't even tried doing my I've got hoppers and boing grots. I've just been playing pretty much a version of my LVO list just to kind of get something up and going and fully painted, and then I'm going to start messing around with some of the other options, because you can the diversity of this book, it's like I have not got bored writing. Like I'll just be sitting there and go, oh, this is a cool idea, let's have this and this. I wonder what happens if you have like 12 units of sneaky snufflers or something, because like sneaky snufflers could actually be a hidden like silly trick. 4 units of 10 because they off themselves, and there's some silly stuff you can do, but it's definitely a lot of amusement factor.
Right on. Ricky?
I think it's super solid. It's it definitely beat my expectations of what I was worried might come out with Gitz for sure. I am stoked to see a lot of the stuff that was fun and good stayed in and stayed good, and that they just kind of cleaned it all up in a way that makes it possible to kind of play the book in whatever way you want. And there's nothing overly weak. My first game with the book when it first came out was with Trogs, and I did quite well with it. So I and that my old Trog list, I used to have to use Craggy as a crutch. This time didn't have to. No crutch needed. And now I'm playing the squigs, mostly because I'm kind of scared that they're going to get nerfed. So I'm playing with the squigs while I have the chance, and then I'll go play with the other stuff once squigs get nerfed.
Same thing I'm doing. As soon as they get nerfed, I'm going right to Moon Clan.
Yeah, because it's kind of sad that we're in a position where we think that might happen. I still think there is probably a little bit of an overreaction by most people to the power of them. They really do have a lot of weaknesses built into them. It's just I think the problem is that most of the people who are playing squigs now and doing so well with them have been playing Gitz probably for a while and had an inherently weak army, and so we're already knowing how to play the don't take a battle shock test, don't take a this test or whatever, or choose to take that and throw out some mortals, so I think that's kind of been probably more the issue. And I think once people adapt to how squigs work, they're going to find those things that will counter them. And I think it's also heavily meta dependent, because I've heard in certain metas there's a lot of bravery bomb stuff, and that doesn't necessarily come up in our meta, but when it does, it's gonna hurt squigs quite a bit. So yeah. But just general impression, it's awesome. It's a great book.
Very, very well said. I really actually want to touch on something you said. It was something I meant to bring up. And I said going in before the book came out, I bet you this is going to be like when I was playing Skaven in AOS 1.0, and we didn't even have a book. You couldn't play Skaven. You had to play General Chaos and take general things, and they were so bad. And then the book came out. It was quite good. You know what I mean? It was like definitely probably A tier. And I just felt like, that scene in Naruto where Rock Lee takes the ankle weights off and he drops them and then they crash into the ground and he's just going at full speed there. It just felt like this is like this is easy mode now. Like, it's crazy. Like, I've had these weights on me this whole time. Yeah, like, if you were playing Gitz for the past 4 years, you were, like, learning to play the game at a much deeper level to even have a chance at winning, right? And now that those ankle weights are off and, like, the book is good, yeah, it's just so like that.
Well, it makes you a better player in
It
general
does.
in
It
the
does.
game.
Yep.
You're not one of those weird high health players playing in the corners shooting 60 shots repeatedly.
Yeah.
You know,
Which
like
spells
you
that
actually
just
have
go
to.
off.
Yeah. You
Yeah, yeah.
actually have to like
Don't roll
think about what
dice.
you're doing.
Like what?
I mean, it's definitely, as Ricky kind of said, like the two biggest things that are the reason why Gitz are doing well right now is because the people with the fully painted Gitz armies have been playing them for the last 2, 3, 4+ years, and they've been going 2-3s, 3-2s, sometimes 4-1s with that army that was underpowered, and now they have an army that's not. And the second factor is no one's used to playing hordes again. Like
Yeah.
everyone's been, there's no one's got the horde tech right now. Everyone, I mean, they're slowly starting to, but everyone's used to playing elite stuff or cron spines or things like this. Suddenly you have like 2-3 units of 36 gigs here. You've got Gitz here. You have these 4+ regenerating bouncy things going all over the table, and there's just so much. It's as Dan said before we came on. They're just overwhelmed that there's so much stuff in their face. They're just like, I like, what do I go for first? What do I target?
Yeah, everybody's used to there was the monster meta that rolled into the supposed horde meta, but with bounty hunters that made that that never actually manifest. So yeah, yeah, you're right. I think that people just haven't faced what Gitz used to be, which was when I would play with 2 blocks of 60 Gitz and follow that up with 2 blocks of Trogs. And yeah, people don't know how to deal with those numbers now. They're used to
yeah,
high value
saw.
attacks.
I was waiting.
Oh, okay.
So sorry to interrupt, guys. So I was told that I was half the volume of everyone else, so I adjusted it. No. That's what I was told it was. Okay. So I made some adjustments. Let me know, guys. I just turned up the rest of the guys in proportion. Let me know let me know how I'm doing, how the volume levels are. Everything kind of got reset when. So anyway, let me know. And I don't want this to turn into let's make excuses how the Gitz book isn't overpowered thing. But another thing to mention is actually the fact that we're in a season right now which heavily favors our army in a lot of ways. Like if you're taking a Squig boss right now, that's a 4-wound hero on a 6-up that you can't shoot unless you have sharpshooters, right? So like in a post economy thing where you're taking like a couple of sharks even in IDK, you're just popping those guys off and it's not even a problem. You're just like, okay, I'll throw 4 shots into him from a shark, hitting on 3s with all out attack, and yeah, I'll probably pop him. And then he's gone, and he's not buffing your thing, so you can't even take the first turn. Like there's kind of a trickle down effect that's going to happen after we get rid of this season, and we're also coming in, as Dale said, off of the bounty hunters season where you couldn't take you couldn't take a horde unit, and so people are still taking those same lists, I think, and then it's like, you know, like why isn't this working still? And we still have to wait for things to adjust. So I'm hoping that GW will take that into account and then also do a light touch. I always think it's better to do a light touch, even if it takes you 2 or 3 tries. Just do a light touch because no one wants this whole Slanesh, you know, like OBR, or not, actually OBR isn't a good example, but like Slanesh, if you guys remember, like they came out in 2.0. Too good. They were like, "Oh God, this is bad," and then they just nerfed the crap out of them.
Well, I think they learned. I think they learned from that.
I actually totally agree.
Like the ogre cannons.
Yeah.
They came out. I mean, that were so, you know, awful or so strong that they saw everybody playing with them. They got a little bit of points hike, and you still see them.
Oh yeah.
And they're still just as good.
Honestly,
I also find that there is definitely a thing that everyone automatically looks at the top 10 or top whatever, who 5-1s, who's 4-1s. But it's actually really interesting because if you look at the whole field of an event, where there's Gitz lists are all over the place. You'll have, one at 5-0, you'll have a couple at 4-1s, but then there's equal amounts at like 3-2s, 2-1s still, and things like that. It's not all, it's not like every single Gitz army is 5-0ing or 4-1ing.
So when I went to Cherokee a couple weekends ago, there was 6 of us. One of them won it, which was a squig list, and there was a Trog list that played him for first. He lost by like 2 points or something like that. And then the Trog guy had been playing Gitz for a while, but like I think half of us had been playing Gitz for a while, the other half had borrowed Gitz. So I think that's kind of like where it's coming in. So you're gonna have like the people that have been playing this for a while that are like crack fiends when it comes to little crazy mushroom people, and then you have like the people that are just like, I don't like using like the meta chasing word, but like
it exists. It's a thing.
It is what it is. That's what they want to do. That's fine. That's what they get out of the game. It's fine.
Do you know one of the funniest thing that is also blocking the Gitz probably being at more events is GW not having all the good stuff available. Like you cannot buy the Loon Shrine, you cannot buy Gobblepalooza, you cannot buy Fungoid Cave Shafts, you cannot buy Scraggy. Like
it's crazy.
When I went to Cherokee, so I have two. When I go to tournaments, I have 2 Loon Shrines with me. I have one that I play with, and I have one that's on my display board with an LED in it.
Nice.
And I had so many people come up to me and they're like, "Do you know how many people in my club hate you right now?" And I was like, "Do you know how many people in your club would really hate me when I told you I had 2 more of them at home?"
What?
Yeah, I remember Dan saying he's got like 4 or something.
That's godlike. Oh man. Hey, I mean, they had their chance, Gitz have been out for 4 years now, man.
Bro, in 8 months.
Yeah.
We'll be living like kings. Because in 8 months, people are gonna be selling their stuff off like crazy.
Yeah.
Well, scooping them up.
Already look at it. You've got like they just announced the OBR, the KO books coming out this weekend, and now you've already got the Blades of Corn and Slanesh coming out soon. And Seraphon,
people are gonna move. Here's the thing that I think is where squigs are gonna finally feel less broken is we have an army that traditionally could shoot off a lot of stuff, which is potentially with sharpshooters going to be a problem for the army. And then we have the other 2 armies that are premier melee armies and likely to strongly challenge squigs. So because they're melee horde armies, at least Khorne can be, and Slanesh, not 100% historically, but is possible to do that. So I think you're going to find that all of a sudden, with the context of the 3 next releases, it's not as bad as everybody thinks.
Yeah, it is like, it's a great point. But before we kind of go too far down the rabbit hole of this, maybe we could start talking about some of the battle traits and what you guys kind of think and how you're using them.
Sure.
Cool. So the first thing that we that is on here is obviously the what's it called? the moon.
Light to the bat.
So
big improvement from previous editions.
Huge improvement. My God, right?
Yeah. It's still frustrating that it's kind of a random thing.
I agree. Yeah.
But because you can start with it on the board, and with Scraggy, you can control it enough.
I'd say mine so far has not been random because it starts on the board, turn 2 it goes to the middle, and then turn 3 the game's over. So it's like
I've had a similar experience actually. Although, and then turn 3, I actually use Scragrot to make it stay in the middle, so the whole damn field is covered, right? But okay, so where do you guys like to start the moon? Why don't we start with Ricky this time, and we'll go in the opposite order.
Oh, it totally depends on where I would think I'm going to need to charge.
Fair. Okay. But that sounds...
Sometimes it's on...
Sorry.
Sometimes that's the opponent's side. Sometimes that's one of my quarters. It just depends on where I think I'm going to need to run my squigs to and get a charge in. And that's about it. That's all that matters. Because the shrine giving us the moon buff covers so much of the
So
army
much.
anyways
Yeah.
that you really don't need that on your quarter. Definitely where the bulk of your army is deployed.
Right.
You could either put it on your flank or but put it in a quarter where you know you need to press hard. So that's generally what I try to do. I don't have a set formula for it because I don't think it's smart to try and do that. I think you need to adapt it to the battle plan and the opponent.
That's yeah. I think obviously that's a great point. Like it's not like it's like with knotholes. You don't just like okay, I always put one here and then two on the side. It's like you gotta you definitely have to fit it around your thing. And then there's also like if you have Scragrot or if you have the moon uh, endless spell, malevolent moon,
Mm-hmm.
that's gonna change some of your like sometimes I'll have the moon start in one quarter and then I've got Scragrot kind of run up the middle of the field and he's so you basically have it almost all over the board even from the start.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but
It's kind of a non-issue now,
it's
but
true.
it is nice to guarantee where those charges are going to be, and so you, you know you can usually leapfrog from your shrine's shadow out into whatever quarter you threw it in order to get those key charges, and that's what you try and set up.
That's a I agree with that. Dale, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, mine would basically be I usually go um, with my style of list with their deployment
Yeah.
because I've got the light of the bad moon covering my army, and then I'll either have Scraggy in a position where I can run him auto run him 6 for the 11 or teleport him. And then that covers me the middle bit, and then I've got the stuff in his goal. So that means I've got plenty of space for my fully buffed up 36 squigs to go one of the two ways I need to go. And yeah, and as Ricky said, it just really depends on what you're facing because sometimes you might need to go for a longer flank or something.
Mm, right.
But yeah,
And Dan, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, so a lot of times I actually go the opposite of where I originally plan on going in the beginning. So I can set up the stab him in the dark battle tactic first turn. Because
Oh,
I know I'm going to have a lot of stuff under the moon the rest of the game.
which
So
one is
I want to
which battle
I
tactic is
not
that?
stab him in the dark
Yeah.
because you have to kill something that's not under and not be under the
Oh,
moon.
got it. Got it.
So,
Totally.
because I know for the rest of the battle, pretty much, I'm gonna have my stuff underneath the moon.
Yeah.
So I try to knock that one out super early. So I try to set it up. So I'll set the moon up here or wherever they have their closest weak unit,
Yep.
and then I'll put 10 bounders or whatever
That's a great call.
to counter that, and
That's
then
a
I'll
great
set
call.
the moon to the opposite corner.
Huh. I should think about
And
yeah,
that
it
too.
all
especially
depends on. There's a lot
yeah.
of like Riggy was saying. There's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
There's
Um,
definitely at the minute because there are a lot of armies that struggle with the first um, battle round
yeah.
for tactics.
Yeah, I usually do go cunning maneuver, but I should try that because like if it's a like if I'm throwing a mangler, like I probably only need about 13 inches of movement on him
Yeah.
anyway.
Cunning
So
maneuver also has to be wholly out of your deployment, so it
it
can't be one of
does.
the ones on the line and stuff. So sometimes, like in some of the missions, you don't have it. It's like their back
Yeah,
one. And it's like, oh well, I'm not going to be getting that unless I pile in or something.
it's true. I don't usually have a problem getting there, but I forget what I used yesterday. I usually if I'm playing squigs, it's different than if I'm playing trogs. So if I'm playing squigs, I tend to put it in my enemy zone on whatever side like I see the thing that I want to go kill because I'm usually playing manglers and I know I can get into their deployment from there. So I usually am putting it on their side of the board on one side or the other, and then I usually bounce. I use the monstrous action to bounce where I really want to go. So I can make like a very safe charge
Yeah.
with a mangler, and then I
Mm-hmm.
bounce over and I kill something. You usually. Um, cool. Okay. I really love those were great ideas, guys. So okay. So I guess we'll touch briefly on Under the Light of the Bad Moon what they get. Because like a lot of this depends on like what it doesn't depend on what faction you're going with, but like most of us are theming our armies, like, not that you can't do a mixed army, but like I think a lot of us are leaning into one faction. So maybe we'll just go over super briefly, and if there's anything you guys want to bring up, like for instance, Frothing Zealots. If a friendly Moon Clan unit receives the rally command in the light of the bad moon, you return one slain model on a 4-up instead of a 6. So that's significant, especially if you combine it with the heroic action to just do that up to 3 times for free.
Yeah.
Um, do you guys have any strategies that you are kind of basing that on? Like basing?
No.
No.
I think that one is you're gonna be playing full Moon Clan or with maybe Bad Snatchers or King's Gitz to really get the most use out of that particular one. You'll the 4-up rally is great on stuff like the Snufflers and the just about the moon is so
Gobblepalooza.
prevalent in the game now. You're almost always under the light of the moon with most of your units.
For sure.
That being able to rally that screening unit of 20 stabas on a 4-up is really great. So you do get use out of it, but like if you're playing squigs, um, you're definitely not going to be getting much use out of the 4-up, and you're not going to get that with the trogs, unfortunately. So it really only matters if you on those basically units of goblins and support units like snufflers and now fanatics, which is quite great. You can
But
actually rally
you do get it.
fanatics.
You do get it on bounders and hoppers,
And
though, right?
hoppers, which is what is
Yeah.
a big part of their kind of play style.
Yeah, that is interesting. Okay, but is there anything anyone wants to add in terms of just how to utilize the 4-up? I mean, King gets that was a great call. King gets and or maybe the command trait for re-rolling. Oh, sorry,
I mean,
I was
I think-
thinking
yeah.
of bringing them back, but
I've kind of just been using the Snufflers and Gobblepalooza as screens because they rally on a 4+ as well. I'd rather have
Yeah.
those in my grots as a screen, and then like you only need there wasn't the limitation before where you have to roll a dice roll for the number of Snufflers you have to get the buffs off. So
Yeah.
now, as long as you've got like 1 or 2 buffs, like Snufflers, you still got the buff. To Gobblepalooza, 3 wounds each with a 4-up ward on turn 1 is pretty baller, and they rally in the 4-up as well.
Mm-hmm.
that's a
You only need like certain ones for those good buffs turn 1. So if you
Yeah.
do get hit and you do lose a couple, you still got time to pull them out of combat and rally them next turn.
Yeah. That's the nice thing about Gobblepalooza is that it's such a toolbox that you can
Yeah.
decide
So
what do
good.
I not need this game, and then remove those ones and then rally them back later anyways, just to give yourself some redundancy.
And the models are so amazing.
They're so cool.
Yeah.
They're maybe
really cool.
they're maybe the best unit in the whole book in terms of look.
Super
Mhm.
fun.
I think it's funny they went from like the one unit I hadn't painted because 1, it was intimidating to paint them, and 2, they just weren't a great unit. They're one of the worst units in the book. To now they're like in every list just because for 100, we'll get to them later, but like 145 points for a buff unit, which is quite tanky to begin with, and is a 2-cast wizard.
Yep.
Is just
Yeah.
lovely.
Seems
Amazing.
good.
And starts off with a 4-up ward. Like I feel
Yeah.
like it doesn't even matter what clan you're taking. You start with Gloomspite or you start with Gobblepalooza and maybe Scragrot, and you're like, okay, what else do I want? Like I mean, you could honestly, I think Gobblepalooza even over Scragrot. They're that good. We'll see if they change anything. So for Squigs get they can run and charge in the light of the bad moon. I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. Is there anything you guys want to add? Like, it's just really good. It makes them more mobile.
So I
Yeah.
do want to say one thing about the squigs that I think a lot of people, and I want to hear if y'all think anything different, but I'm pretty sure I'm correct on this. I think a lot of people get this wrong. So squigs have random movement, right?
Yeah.
So you have like the hot or the herds where it's D6 movement plus 5. So when you run and charge, when you're under the bad moon, so most things have a set movement characteristic. So Squig's movement characteristic is X plus D6.
Yeah.
So before you even roll your run roll or decide if you're gonna auto run that unit, then you would roll the movement characteristic.
Yep.
Then you decide
Yep.
which way you do it.
That's actually factually correct, and I know this because Matthias and I went through it on Doom Wheels.
Yeah.
So
And I think a lot of people get that wrong, and it's, in
Yep.
my opinion, it's super important because you could potentially so like with hoppers, they move 10 inches. If you roll a 6, you don't, or like even like a 3 most of the time, you don't need to auto run them.
no.
But if you roll a 1 with your squig herd, you might want to auto run them.
That's a good point.
So we can't auto run them unless you have to try it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Do the run. Yeah.
For squig herd, but he said hoppers or bounders.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and yeah, anyway, and if anyone wants to know, we can go down the rabbit hole, but Matthias and I went down it very thoroughly. The rule is basically anytime you need to know the movement of a random movement characteristic, you make that roll, and then it counts for that until the end of the phase.
Yeah, because it's the same for endless spells. So if someone's doing a Ravenex, you kind of roll all your random movement for everyone just so they know what everyone gets.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a great point. And then we've got the Trogoths one, which is the same, but now that they've got a better save, it's so much better. It's crazy, right? So Moonlit Hide, add 1 to save rolls for attacks that target Gloomspite gets Trogoth units while they are affected by the light of the bad moon. Ricky, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, it's like always having all-out defense on. That's really what it comes down to. What I'm noticing, and this I think is true with both the squigs and with the trogs when I play them, I will generate a ton of CP and I might use 1 the whole turn, simply because there's with squigs you can't use them.
Yeah.
So you just get used to not using them.
So true.
And you can't, and those are the units you would be using them on if you were to use them with squigs. So if you were doing bounders and hoppers, I'm sure you probably spend them. But with trogs, you don't have to because you're already at your +1. So unless they have rend 2, you're probably not throwing out all out defense.
Especially if you have Dobby as well.
Yeah, and with Dobby and the +1, you're really only doing 1 CP from the Trog boss to get the +1 attack. And so like with the way the moon is just much more consistent, and you can take Scraggy to walk behind your Trogs if you want, or throughout the moon. You're pretty much set on just being tanks, just straight up tanks. And I still would probably never take Fellwaters, but at least they have enough of a save now that most mundane damage doesn't just pull them off.
That's so interesting. You're not taking Fellwaters because they're the thing that I hear everyone complaining about how busted they are.
Too easy to kill.
But they just die.
They do die. They do die.
What makes Trog so good is that they can take the full frontal charge and then tear you apart on the return swing, and you just don't get that with those guys. They just crumble whenever something hits them with high rend or with mortals, and that without that 5-up board, it's not worth taking them. Right? What's that? Yeah, Fellwaters. And you can take Snufflers with them, but at that point you're just investing too many points in something that I don't think actually does that much more damage than a Trog boss and some Rock Guts.
For sure. I always like the look of. I mean, the Rock Guts look cooler, but I still like the look of the Fellwaters. And I have an idea how I want to try and use them, but they're not fully painted yet, so you won't see them on the channel until I finish that. That was a great comprehensive thing. Did Dale or Dan, did you guys want to add anything?
No, I mean, I was going to say about
it's really good.
Fellwaters and the Trogs was like, it's so easy to get Rend 4 on a Trog.
Oh, man. Yeah.
You don't need necessarily that Fellwater debuff to go off. And yeah, on the CP thing, the same as Ricky, like every turn, because you're getting the CP from Scraggy, you usually have a Fungoid, so there's a chance of getting that. Most of the time, you're doing your heroic leadership. There's nothing really else you can do. Most turns I'm sitting on like 4 or 5 CP at the end of it, going, oh well, it's like, oh, I'll out defense my fungoid cave shaman that's in combat with some Ungor because why not? I have CP to burn.
Just spend it on random
Right.
crap.
I haven't like Ricky said, I haven't even been using all my CP lately. Like if I play Squigs or Trogoths, I have at least one CP at the end of my turn every time, and it's not like I'm like you know. It's not like I'm forgetting. You know what I mean? I'm used to using my
No,
CP.
yeah, there's just nothing to spend it on.
There's just nothing
yeah.
to spend it on. I'm just like, cool. This feels amazing.
I think if you're playing just straight Moon Clan, you'd spend them like crazy because you'd have all the loon bosses throwing out stuff left and right. But with
That's true. That's a good point.
Squigs or with the Trogs, you don't necessarily need them. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I killed Matthias's Thanquil from full health with 6 Trogs. Just regular 6 Trogs. And I don't think I even got the all-out attack because I think he roared them. And I was just like, mother of God, this is
the most
crazy.
satisfying moment ever for me was playing my Trogs in a tournament last book. And I won my first game, and I saw what I was paired against after lunch, and it was Techless and a bunch of Stone Guard. And I was like, crap. All right, well, we're doing this. And first thing he does was teleport Techless in front of my giant unit of Rock Guts. And the most satisfying thing in the world was those Rock Guts pounding that little pointy-eared person into the ground.
yeah, they're good at it.
Absolutely. And then we saved the worst for last. Spider Fang Venom does mortal wound on a 5 instead of a 6.
It does a thing.
It's the same as it was before.
Yeah.
Spiders definitely aren't worse than they were before, but they are clearly. I don't think anyone would argue that they're not the weakest part of the book right now. Who knows if that'll change? I tried to make them work, even in the new book, and I was sad.
I would have given them
Yeah.
like 2 mortal wounds instead of 1 on a 6 or D3 on a 6. Like doing a 5+ mortal wound is like,
Yeah.
There's some interesting stuff you can do with them. The fact that they technically can do null deploy.
Yep.
I've written some lists that you can do a null deploy.
With
the
the
problem with
skitter
that
strand?
is you can use all the skitter strands, and because if you take the specific faction ability for that, then you basically are dropping in everything whenever you want, and then the skitter strands themselves can disappear at the end of the combat phase. So it becomes a very ambushy hit and run army, which is great. It also means you can take skitter strands in any other list and have that ambushing capability, which is quite nice. And I think that spiders will benefit from the fact that the moon is much more consistent and stable.
That's
now.
true. That's a great point.
So you will be getting mortals off of a third of your attacks, but they suffer from the fact that they just don't have a lot of attacks anyways.
Exactly.
And it's kind of a low attack thing, and then you're only getting it on the spiders' bites, which are low attack quality or low attack count anyways. So you're really looking at probably the weakest, but I think that there are also some of the best toolbox for the army. The skitter strand itself is going to be extremely important, I think, in some games or in some metas probably, to have that ambush.
Yep.
Especially with a big monster that can plug up a whole area if you need it to. And spider riders themselves are still super points efficient chaff screens. They move over terrain. They have the cav base, and now they finally updated it so that you get the command on them with 5 models.
Thank God.
Yeah, you can finally, which means you can rally them if they don't kill them all the way, right? You keep your champion alive, you can rally those guys back, and you can keep going. But they're, I think the spider riders themselves are just still, like I used to take them pretty often, and I will start taking them again. when I need something that's fast and mobile.
That's really interesting. See, I was thinking of them as not points efficient because they're like 9 points a wound compared to Squig Herd, which are 5 points a wound. But
right.
I see what you're hearing. I hear what you're saying now when you're talking about their points efficient as like a utility unit.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, they move fast, fairly consistently. So they're always a 10-inch move instead of a squig, which might be a 10-inch move or not. And the oval base, when you're a 5 model thing, they can screen out most of 12 inches. Add the 3 inches of not being able to move around the edge of that. That becomes a huge area that they can just screen out and protect a whole flank for you.
490 points. Yeah.
And they're points efficient enough that if you just need to stop somebody from redeploying or Stormcast dropping down on your butt, you just put them in a line behind you. It doesn't matter.
That's a great point because like they are for 90 points, they are making a much longer line than a squig herd is that has to have some semblance of coherency.
Yeah. And ideally you would still take stabas for that same line because stabas and spiders can cover the same range, but the spiders have the utility in being able to move faster than stabas ever will, and over terrain to get to places you need it to go. So, depending on your meta and the terrain that's in that area, you can use those guys to run up and block between two pieces of impassable terrain if people use that a lot in your area.
So true.
And all of a sudden people can't get past those guys. They have to stop and speed bump them.
That's a great point. And as Keith said, retreat and rally, send in the next wave.
I think Spider Fang's gonna play towards the end of the last book. I was using kind of like what you were saying, Ricky. I think the Spider Fang plays that toolboxy hit and run kind of like movement game for the army, as far as like playing the blocks, and especially now with I played 2 Skitter Strands a lot in my list towards the end of the last book, and now that they can just having a big monster like that, and once a lot of people didn't know, they just see that big monster and they're like, oh crap, what is that? And then having the fear that it comes out of reserve, and then oh crap, now that thing can come out of reserve, bounce away, come out of reserve, bounce away, and bring stuff with it. Yeah, there's a lot like real cool techie things you can do with the spiders, and also I like the sound of like a 15-man spider unit with like all the different like double damage spider buffs and all that kind of stuff on it.
Yeah, it could be pretty nasty at that point.
That's a great fun call. Okay, so and then why don't we move on to the heroic actions?
Oh yeah, boy.
One of these is not like the other, but hey. So beckon the lunatic hordes. Only a Moon Clan hero affected by the light of the bad moon can carry out this heroic action. He can immediately issue the rally command up to 3 times without any command points being spent. Each unit that receives the command must be a different friendly Moon Clan unit.
Read it again for me, Rob.
Read
it again.
Yeah. So
rally with no CP. There you go.
And
free.
And you're already gonna get, except for Squig Herd, which don't take commands, 4 up to any of said Moon Clan units that you do issue it on. And it doesn't say that it does say that they need to be a Moon Clan unit, but that's most of the army.
It's everything but the Trogs or spiders if you're playing those.
Right. The spiders don't have it because they have the Spider Fang keyword. But everything else has it, and including the Squig Herd, but the Squig Herd just can't take commands. So.
Do the new wolves have it? I haven't even looked.
No, they don't. They don't have Moon Clan.
Right,
no.
They have Git Mob or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
The MBW.
I mean, I haven't even read their war scroll. I just like,
It's okay, but
okay.
because there's so much else in the book that serves better purpose, like it's the what you would take them for would be screening, right?
Yeah,
Spiders are much cheaper for it. Sure,
exactly.
they're a slightly shorter movement range, but they're better at it. So
Right.
you would just take spiders.
Well, and
Yep.
the thing is I love spiders. Like in real life, I love spiders. So like, and
Hmm.
I just felt like they didn't do anything that my spiders didn't already do. And yeah, anyway, and I'm not that in love with the models either. So I was just like, maybe one day, like if they
Bro,
come
I
out with
love
more
them.
stuff,
If they
Yeah,
bring
I
out
love them.
that's
I
if
used
they
to
bring
awesome.
out
use
Chariot,
Snarlfang all the time, and Snarlfang was super good and super great, and he got even better, but they raised the points so much that he's prohibitive now. So
And
then you
that's
might as
sad.
well run the unit of 5.
Well,
yeah,
the other
yeah.
thing too is they do remind me of fantasy goblins, which
That's
is
the
really
point,
cool.
Rob.
No, I know totally, but I was never that guy. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, if I can take all spiders, but that's more of a recent thing.
Oh man, you weren't part of the so yeah, back in fantasy I could take a pack of wolves, reform them into a single file, one wide,
Uh huh.
and then throw my fanatics through them to guarantee my fanatics hit. And
Wow.
I'd be like,
Wow.
sure, I kill my wolves, but I kill you, so who cares?
That's so freaking
Hey,
awesome. No, I would.
Yeah,
Ricky,
yeah.
I hate the Slogoth model. It's awful, but the
Mm,
rules are amazing.
yeah.
And I'm sure you'll get a kick out of this. You'll probably love it since you're an old fantasy player. I used fantasy is where I started. I use this big giant goblin on a chariot with a
Oh,
liberated goblin
yep, yep,
as
yep.
as a Slogoth model.
Yeah, yeah.
I fucking love
Is
it.
it
Oh,
Grom the
sorry,
Paunch?
sorry, Rob. Told you it would happen.
Yeah,
uh,
like the Grom the Paunch model was super fun.
Yeah.
oh man, he's so cool. I hope they bring back something like that, just even as an homage, and then use it for
Yeah,
both. Like you just make him call like Ikit is the Arch Warlock. Like you can do something like that. I'd be down.
Talk
yeah.
about a woof, woof, woof.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I was a Skaven guy back in the day, and then Lizardman. So yeah, but if you could go back in time, like I mean, that's still where all the fun is had. And then there's also Wait and Smash. Now,
So good. It is so good.
really, see, like I haven't had a chance to use it because I've never had
Yes.
anything in combat with my Trogoth in the hero
Oh,
phase.
the
Everything
Trog,
dies.
my Trog boss won the game twice using that command.
What? That's
Like,
so
yeah,
awesome.
dude.
Okay, then
Yeah.
tell us about it, Ricky. Gosh, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
so my opponent had Zinch, a Zinch opponent had their caster standing off to the side, and I was engaged with my Trog boss, and I was able to just go from over here to over here, and then kill that caster, and that was
Wow.
much more important than killing these horrors, right?
Yeah. Yeah. For
And then
sure.
later, the one thing I needed to kill way back here in order to take the objective and win the game was charge here, pile in, or yeah, actually I got through that one through pile in. I didn't need it for that, but yeah, for sure, killed that character that people weren't expecting. They're like, oh, this character is safe. He's pinned in combat, but I'm not. I just moved this far
That's
and
interesting.
bopped you.
And
Yeah.
and so you managed to finish off someone who'd already taken
Oh yeah.
wounds, I guess.
Yeah.
Because like they,
Yeah.
they take D3 on a 2-up, but
Yeah. It was. I think they were down to one or two wounds because I'd already shot at them with my
mm,
trogs, and
oh right, yeah, like the
yeah.
only shooting in the army
Hmm.
is something you're rocking. That's awesome.
Something had done damage to him. I just know that I was able to move over there and finish him off with that, and I was like, "Ha victory!"
Dang it.
So yeah, so it's not as good as the squig one where you can because the squig has fly built into it, right? But you know, and
Yeah.
I don't think it's worth taking levitate just to try and do that with that guy. But
Yeah.
you know, I think don't discount it because when you're playing all trogs, having a utility like that is what's going to make the game in a lot of the times because
For sure.
you know I, I don't think it's as bad as it used to be, but trogs you were always on a fine line between just getting totally tabled and or totally tabling them. And now I think you're going to find that they're more consistent, but that those little tools are what's going to help you win some games.
For sure. I do think it's important to mention. So you talked about levitate. Now levitate. So heroic action happen at the start of the hero phase, and levitate happens in the middle. Obviously.
Is a spell, yeah.
So
it wouldn't work anyway.
It wouldn't work if it's your turn, but you could cast levitate for the future, and then he could charge over a piece of terrain, and then in their turn you could also do that heroic action, right?
Right.
Yeah. And then, so you could actually like pin a unit that they didn't think you could pin just by doing that heroic action. Even if you don't get any mortal wounds, it's just like, oh, like I just move into your sentinels and now they have to shoot my 4-up ward Trog boss, or they don't get to shoot anything. Actually, I guess they can teleport out. This is maybe not the best example. But
3-up save, 4-up ward Trog boss, which is just...
exactly right. It's awesome.
With 14 wounds or whatever it is now that you get. Yeah, that guy. I turned him into such a tank that there was no scratching him.
Are you a fellow Alpha Trog brother?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's where it's at. I actually think that's better than the free spell, even though I only see the free spell lately. Actually, not lately, from the start.
Yeah, like I think there's definitely reasons to take both, but when you're taking trogs, you're not taking trogs because you want to do magic.
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
You're taking trogs because you want to smash.
You want to smash, and you want to just take damage and be like, huh? What?
Yeah, and if the bigger his health pool is, the less likely he's to get one shot, which means he's gonna regen and just heal right back up. So, you just keep that health pool nice and large and healthy, and you can actually send him in and do some stuff. Now, the damage is still so swingy. It's either going to be 2 damage or 20 damage. You never know.
Yeah.
But, at least you can send him in and let him go do something instead of just standing back and like, I can't commit.
It's so true.
Is the CP generation thing, is that a command trait or is that a relic?
The CP command, what do you mean?
The command trait?
The Trog one where you roll 3 dice and on 6s you get an extra CP.
I think that's the third of the heroic or command abilities. Yeah, whatever you call them.
I like that one.
It's wait, is it? No, it's not Trog Smash. It must be an artifact.
I think it might be a command ability or something. But
yeah,
let me look.
Alpha Trog, I see Trog Smash and Loonskin, and then that's it.
Yeah.
So,
it's the only one. It's the only one to really take.
Yeah, the problem I would have with the generating CP is, again, even with the Trogs, you're not spending CP. You don't need it.
The reason I like it is because because you can spend each one of those on an all-out attack.
It is an artifact. So at the start of the hero phase, it's called Speaky Skull Fetish.
Yeah, that one.
But before, why don't we move on? Why don't we actually move to the command traits? No. It's just because I will lose track of the plot here. And
taking it for the 2 commands is good.
The great thing is too about that, like before we actually do move on, is that it's an artifact, so you can easily get access to more of said thing. That's dope.
Hey, Sean.
Yo, Sean.
Alex.
And what up, Alex? Thanks for joining us. Everyone who's joining us, we really appreciate it. So we're gonna move on to some command traits. Why don't we go? We'll go on the page again. Actually, maybe we won't because Dan just stepped out for a second. So, you're back already. Okay. So
no, I was still here. I'm looking for my phone. Sorry.
No worries, not at all. So Blessings of the Bad Moon, Grot hero only. If you're taking a Grot warlord, which one are you taking and why?
Well, I mean, usually it's for these.
Yeah.
The ones that you'll see is the Mangler and Loom boss with Fight Another Day, or the Fungoid who's going to hide at the back of the board with his "you can't shoot within 12" with the climb your hand.
Yeah.
They're the only
I
two I've
agree.
really seen used.
So I take Fight Another Day every time I have a Loon boss on Mangler. Um, but I do like Super Nasty Venom if you are running an Arachnarok. I just think it's cool.
Yeah.
And if you're kind of a hardcore Timmy, I do like Squig Whisperer just because it just means more damage. You're just like, I'm just gonna kill whatever I get in contact with, you know. It's not as good though because they can always activate their once per game ability to add one to their wound rolls for all squigs nearby, including themselves. And then you can just all out attack or Titanic Duel if you need to. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of. But yeah, do you guys have any here that are any other standouts that you want to bring up, or are we pretty much good for these?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I think if you're doing bad snatchers, you could probably make a case for Loon Touched, but
Which one is that?
meh.
Oh, add one additional spell. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Dan, you're donating while you're doing us the kind favor of being on here.
It's tradition.
God
I
dang.
do it every time.
Oh man,
Great
Dan is the patron
I have
saint
to.
of this channel. I think you and Chris Hamilton. Thanks very much, man. Jeez. What was I even saying? I don't remember. It blasted it out of my mind. Thank you again. Fortuitous Trog boss traits. Ricky, why don't you start us off here? Trog fan number one.
I mean, for sure, I would take Alpha Trog probably most of the time. If I was doing a hybrid list where I was taking maybe a Trog boss, 2 blocks of Rock Guts, and then the rest were Moon Clan, I would definitely think hard about Loonskin.
Right.
But until then, it's just gonna be Alpha Trog. I don't even know what Let's Trog Smash does anymore.
When this general fights, after all their attacks have been resolved, you can say that they will perform a Trog Smash. If you do roll a dice and
once per battle.
Yeah, it's true. It's once per battle, but it is each enemy unit on a 2+. They suffer D3. If it was D6, this is a different story, right?
Right.
But
it's
D3,
just not good.
Yeah, no,
it's not good.
It's not even the most fun. Alpha Trog is the most fun. Am I right? Like.
Yeah. I mean, becoming a monster, gaining like that's the thing that's so silly about Trog Smash is you'll gain Stomp from becoming a monster. So why would you take Trog Smash?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that and even being able to roar, like
roar,
being able to roar somebody,
is so important. So important.
It's so good. It's so true. Or smash terrain. Like you could be in there.
Yeah.
You could smash a loon shrine, and really change the game. Yeah, it's a great point. Did Dale or Dan, did you want to add anything about? I think.
Not Trogs.
Yeah,
no.
I feel like.
Yeah, and then Loonskin. The reason I don't like it as much as people maybe think is that you can take the free spell, and the spells, like admittedly, the 3 spells you can take are amazing spells. They are great. But the Trog can only cast those spells. They can't even cast Mystic Shield on themselves.
Yeah.
And that's the frustrating part.
So in the defense of why I take it, so I've got it on my general.
You have, Dale, you have a mixed list. Don't forget to say that.
True.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a mixed
in a mixed list, it makes total sense.
Total sense. Yeah.
My dude sits behind the shrine, protecting the shrine. Scraggy throws that out, and he just sits there for 115 points, doing chasing the moon, and he just hangs around.
Yeah.
Around the shrine.
Yeah.
Real quick to throw us off topic, Dale, have you read the new Black Library book?
No, I can't get my hands on it.
Do you do audiobook?
No, I'm probably gonna have to get it so I can listen to it.
Dude, it's great.
Yeah.
Which
you
one is
said
this?
the Trog protecting the Loon trying to make me think about it.
Oh,
It's
cool.
Bad Loom Rising, the new
Yeah,
Gitz
yeah.
one.
Yeah, I
Oh,
want to
okay.
read it. I wasn't a
It's
huge.
like sold out everywhere. Ugh.
That's crazy. Anyway,
Alright.
so to move down to artifacts of power, we've got Moon Clan heroes. What do you guys think? Why don't we start with Dan this time? We started with Ricky last time.
Sure.
That's okay.
I mean, so my go-to is always the sneaky stealing staff on a madcap, or not a madcap. Sorry, he's useless now. Fungoid.
Add 1 to casting rolls for the bearer. Each time the bearer unbinds the spell, add 1 to casting rolls for the bearer for the rest of the battle.
So the Fungoid can't be targeted outside of 12.
Yep.
You literally just
Pack him in.
wait, especially against people like Lumineth, because unless y'all know something I don't, it stacks. It doesn't say it doesn't. So you literally get this dude to like, cast whatever. So then whenever you want, which I put Itchy Nuisance on him, and he follows around like generally my squig herd. He tries to keep up with him as fast as he can.
That's fun.
And then I can Itchy Nuisance a super like whatever the threat unit is, and then I can split my squig herd into like 1 or 2, maybe even 3 units if there's a couple weaker units. So I can smack the 2 weaker units and then wait on the last one and pounce on the last one. So it just gives you the ability to. It's really good in my opinion. I think that's the best one.
Actually, I want to bring up one that I've used every game I've had squigs, and that's the Leering Git Shield on the Loom Boss on Mangler.
That's hilarious.
It's so much fun. I can't even tell you guys. I was playing Darren. Sorry, Darren. I'm going to talk about your rolling. And he rolled 7 ones when he's attacking me. And then he had a 5-up ward. And so he took 6 mortal wounds while he's attacking me. It's crazy. And Andy killed off like all his own bolt boys just by shooting at me. I'm like, this is amazing. Like, this is the
You know
best
what
thing I've
that's
ever...
really good against?
What's that?
A mirror match. That's
Yeah,
really good against
right?
like another squig army.
Yeah. You attack me with your squigs, they're going to kill themselves. Like, it's so good. I just wanted to talk about that. It's my favorite artifact for fun. Ricky, what do you got? What do you like in here?
The Mommet.
The Mommet,
Yeah.
the classic.
I can't sleep on that classic.
Yeah, I take it every time almost. Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I put it on a Fungoid with Itchy Nuisance and the Mommet, and he just runs behind my squigs, and he's like, I choose you! And then Itchy Nuisance is them, and woo! And, next step profit, I guess.
Yeah, if he gets it off, like if he gets that spell off, and then you've got that there, oh man.
Oh, it deletes
mercy.
Stuff,
yeah.
You take him. I took mine with Tunnel Dweller, so then you can just, you're charging your squigs in turn 1. You Tunnel Dwell your Moonface Moment guy within 12.
Dale, you sneaky git.
Yeah.
And then because he's got the out of 12 as well, it's pretty brutal, because then, especially because it means that then you can do the +3 movement buff from the Gobblepalooza. You don't necessarily have to do that, but because of we've got some solid Warriors of Chaos, Slaves of Darkness, in our meta, and I found that sticking the 6s for mortals on the squigs doesn't always work. But if you can have the Moonface Moment and the Ren buff, or one or the other, it can really chew out some stuff.
It's very true. I've been
Ren 3 squigs are no joke.
No kidding. I've been going back and forth between putting the Tunnel Master on the Squig Herder just so I can have him there. He can kind of really follow the Squig Herd, even if I don't get off the what's it called? Hand of Gork. But I do like that's I go back and forth between that and the Fungoid Cave Shaman. They're both fantastic. What do you guys think about subtract the Clammy Cowl? Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks that target the bear. Because
I think it's okay. It's just, I think the problem nowadays is there's a lot of stuff that's good, and because of all that attack, I suppose it could be good if you're roaring and then they can't do that, but Yeah, I just think there's I think the layering gate shield is actually kind of a better one for your mangler nowadays, especially since
Yeah.
the mangler can get buffed from the snufflers
I
if you want to
Right.
throw 'em up early or commit him in a turn.
I actually totally agree, and the only reason I wanted to bring it up is because the I was thinking like once I actually think that the Loom Boss on Mangler is overpriced at
Yeah.
370, and so I think
Oh,
maybe
way so. Yeah.
right like so I think maybe once he goes down, then maybe you're taking two artifacts and you're putting the second one is maybe the clammy cowl, maybe. I don't know.
I always
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I always like to put the arcane tome on him and give him flame weapon and put it on his balls and chains. So it
Ooh.
makes it
Oh God.
so it makes it a consistent 2 damage
Oh, that's really
instead
good.
of the no.
Yeah,
Makes it real fun.
it makes it less random. That's
Yeah.
pretty good, actually. I like that.
And then if I can, I just so as the Moon Clan, so I love the like the loon bosses on foot, and I've got this image in my head of running this little loon boss with his moon helmet. That's the tusk shield
Oh,
helmet.
there you go. Tusk Breaker.
And I want to run it so bad. Just have him hidden in a squad of 60 stabbers. And here comes this little loon boss high on mushrooms running out of this thing doing an ogre charge.
Tripping balls.
I want to do it so bad.
Thinks it's Rhino from Spider-Man or something.
Awesome.
The fun thing about that, Dan, is the book itself, on the whole, is so solid that there's room to do stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Still be
so
successful
true.
now.
Oh,
You
for
like,
sure.
you know what? This time I'm gonna be silly and do this one thing. Like I was actually the other day, like just trying to think of fun stuff, and I was like, you know what? The Squig Gobba from Forge World paired with Gobbapalooza becomes
Ooh.
good
What?
because all of a
You
sudden it
just-
gains rend,
What?
right?
Yep.
It gains rend, and it can shoot 30 inches without line of sight.
Yeah.
You just
And-
blew my mind.
Yeah.
Dan's just gone to run it right at that.
He went to go grab his. Yeah, I have two painted, and I have
Uh-huh.
two more in the cupboard that are unpainted, and I'm
Oh.
like,
I will
Oh.
paint it now.
yeah.
Dang.
I think with Gobbapalooza, you take one of those and you put it back with your shrine,
Yeah.
and it just spits the whole game.
That's so sick. I have one not even built. I just like the model. So I picked it
Yeah,
up.
it's like
It's so amazing.
because
Wow.
Gits tend to be like a high drop count.
Mhm.
Because
It'd be good
you know
for
who cares?
the anti-gets as well.
Yeah, so what
Like in-
you do
yeah.
is you buff him turn one with the additional rend from the Gobbapalooza, and then as the Gobbapalooza moves forward to support your melee units, sure, he's not getting the rend anymore, but he's still just going to be sitting back there. You have a plethora of CP, so you can give him all out attack, so you can just keep shooting and shooting.
And because he's a monster, you can give him the Snuffler buff too. They just have him this
Well,
5
he's
up
not
ward monster with an extra attack.
Well, he's not a monster, but yeah,
Yes.
he's Moon
Uh,
Clan.
Is
Did they
the
take the monster keyword away from him?
I think he's still got the monster keyword.
I don't know. I'll have to check. Does he have monster?
He used to.
Gobba.
What's
We're
it
all
called again?
checking.
I know.
Got Squig Gobba.
He's got a monster keyword.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Because I
Wow.
remember that because I never knew he was a monster until I was playing Danny, and
Yeah.
Danny used him again. I had to.
That makes
There's
him
a
great
game
for because then you
Yeah.
can hand a Gork off onto an objective, and all of a sudden he's holding an objective, and he's a nightmare in combat. So people will be like, "I'll charge that thing."
Oh.
Oh, that was a
And he
mistake.
could unleash hell, you know?
Yeah.
So just
Yeah.
for everyone at home, so he has 6 attacks at 30 inches, 4s and 3s, but he gets +1 to hit automatically if he's attacking into 5 or more models. With
Yeah.
Gobbapalooza, he's -1 Rend D3 damage, and then he's got 3 Cavernous Maw attacks at 3s and 3s, -3 with Gobbapalooza D3 damage. So that's pretty fun. And he's
Yeah,
175 points.
Yeah, like I think he's as we start to see more and more units that are larger, he becomes better. You know, those
That's
low save large units.
that's a great call. I didn't even think about him or the Gobapalooza on him. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Okay, so we've got next up, last and not least in the artifacts department, at least in my opinion, Spider Fang. I just want to start it off by saying so obviously we got the Totem of the Spider God, right? But the headdress of many eyes, only unmodified hit rolls of 5 or 6 successfully score attack that target the bearer. Unmodified. So it doesn't matter
So
what
good.
you're doing.
Yeah.
And then it only goes on the Scuttle Boss, but he's a cool utility piece as it is. What I want. I definitely am going to do that at some point. I just need to have more painted Spider
For
Fang.
myself, in fairness and clarity, this is the first time I've looked at the veterans values.
It's so cool though, right?
I don't have any spiders.
And then there's
You don't have any, Dale?
No.
shame. I need
have-
like
I
a
have
shame
all the
bell
squig stuff.
gif.
I have a ton of squigs and a couple of trogs, but I was always in. For me, the squigs were my thing, so like I just went tons into them. So I have like so many squigs, not many squogs, and 6 trogos.
Can you guys see this?
Yeah, you've got that. Yeah, you got the whole box there. Yeah.
This box predates the start collecting sets. This is before we even had start collecting.
That's a good box right there.
I got it. Alex was actually kind enough to tell me they were on clearance at a local store. They were normally $85 Canadian. I got those for $60 each. Like,
It's like
That's
30
$10
bucks.
for me.
Is that like
yeah, that's Monopoly money. We're talking Monopoly
real
money
money?
here. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like 50 pesos American
Like
or something.
£5, $10.
Yeah, it's crazy. It was the best deal ever. And at that point, because you could take those battalions that used to cost points, so 3 boxes of that was 2,000 points. And that's how I got started in Gitz.
See, we joke about the currency thing, right? But to go to the Open Series in Seattle, the Tacoma one this year, to buy a ticket, it's like 226 Canadian dollars to go because of the exchange rate and the taxes on it. It's so stupid.
It's crazy.
I'm
man.
still going because like I want to go.
Because it's
to it, but
awesome.
it's just,
Holy
like,
God, dude! How much do they tax y'all?
oh, there was like I don't know what it was. It was like the booking taxes or something like that. But yeah, it was like because right now I think it's like 1.5 Canadian dollars to the US dollar, where it used to be 1-to-1 for a while, and then the tax on top of it, and it was just like, oh God.
I don't know why y'all don't just, join us.
Okay. Before we go too deep, it's okay. So, and now, honestly, some of the funnest artifacts in the whole book, glowy howitz. I don't think that thing needs any introduction at this point. The bearer has a ward of 4 up at the end of each phase. If 4 up on a something that has at least 12 wounds is already amazing. But then there is the downside. It used to be bad and now it's good. So if you allocate wounds to it at the end of the phase, you roll a dice, and on a 1, it can't be used for the rest of the battle. But
I just realized I was still using the old version of it, so every game I've been playing it, I've been rolling a 1 every time he takes a ward, which is why I was saying, like a lot of
What?
Oh
my! You know what's crazy, Dale?
Buddy.
You know what's crazy, Dale? Is this reminds me exactly of when Skaven got our 2.0 book. There was 6 wounds on warp lightning cannons, and I couldn't figure out why like everyone else's were lasting more than 1 round of shots and mine weren't, because I was just like, I'm losing them every single time. Like, I think they're bad, but I'm still gonna keep taking them. But like, that's the curse of playing the old book for too long, right? And not reading properly.
For some reason, I had it in my head that every time I took a mortal wound, I had to roll it. So every time I was doing it, I was rolling a dice, and if I rolled a 1, I didn't have it anymore. And then, oh well.
Did you guys
I'm glad they covered that before the tournament this week.
No kidding. Ledivicus just made a comment. I just saw the little sparkly effects as Dale leveled up on camera. That was great. Dan brought up the Speaky skull fetish. Do you want to talk us through why you like it? It is an artifact, so.
Yeah. So Trogs, in my opinion, they're 1 down. And Ricky, please jump in and tell me at any point if I'm mistaken. But one of Trog's weaknesses is they don't have a sergeant or like any command or anything like that. So they have to have somebody around them to give them command abilities.
Yep.
Well, so to be able to give multiple units, so what you do is you roll, I think it's 3d6, and for every 6 you can you get an extra CP, but that CP has to be spent on the same command ability. And I think, is it limited to all out attack, or is it
At the start of
it
your
just
hero
has to be
phase, roll 3 dice. For each 6, you receive 1 extra command point. In addition, the bearer can issue the same command up to 2 times in the same phase. A command point is spent each time a command is issued by the bearer.
Yeah, so any
Right.
command ability.
That's pretty
So
good.
if you're being aggressed real bad, you can, if you feel like you need to, high rend army, you can spend it on all out defense to multiple units, because again,
Or-
you don't have the luxury of having like a champion in every unit. And the same if you're trying to aggress real hardcore, because you get that +1 attack and the +1 to hit when you go in, then you have the ability to aggress real hardcore when you hit.
I mean,
Yeah,
or
it's
hell, a
super
rally.
good.
A rally, right? Like you're only getting it
Oh
on
yeah, and a
6s.
rally, yeah.
But if you've
Yeah,
got
you
like,
could rally
if you're
points.
rallying 5 Trogs, there's a good chance you get 4 wounds back.
There is, yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Ah.
The thing that it pairs super well with is because this goes on the Trog boss. The Trog boss's War Scroll ability is basically an all-out attack.
Right.
But it's all-out attack with +1 attack.
Right.
So you get, if you're throwing that on Rock Guts,
2 units
you
of
go
6 rock guts.
Yeah, you go from doing 2 attacks each to 3 attacks each and hitting on 3s. I mean, you're probably already hitting on 3s because of the Dobby, but if you don't bring Dobby, you realistically you could probably take the there's probably a way to take Warlord somehow. You'd have to do kind of a mixed arms list a little bit, but take Warlord, take this and Glowy. You'll have Glowy on your general with the Alpha Trog, and you'll have this on a second guy that's just standing back to throw command points on people.
So rad. Well, the other thing too is you can just take a regular Trogoth, the new battalion. So you have you could literally just pop yourself up to 2 artifacts without even the support heroes. Not that you don't want support heroes now, but.
And there is a lot of -1 to hit out there too. So
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, double +1 isn't bad.
I think I'm gonna
especially
have
in
to
mirror
take
matches against Stabus.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh god.
And I like
the
what.
Netter.
Sorry.
So good.
I like what Keith said about the pet Gribbly. It's just cool. Add 1 to the bearer's wound characteristic. In addition, each time a wound is allocated to the bearer and not negated, roll a dice. On a 1, the pet Gribbly is squished. When the pet Gribbly is squished, the bearer becomes enraged for the rest of the battle. Add 1 to hit and wound rolls. So that's really fun. I think it's my 3rd choice in terms of like pure tactics. But like I can see.
I love it lore wise, like story wise.
Yeah, exactly. If you could model, like you could take like just like some kind of one of the many Gribblies that the army comes with on the side. Like I would probably put a spider or something on his shoulder, right? but like
it's frustrating in that you have to roll that 1, so you're fishing for it to happen. If you just got the extra attack and wound every phase that you took damage or something, that would be much cooler.
Ooh, that would be fun
or
too.
If the Gribbly died on a 4-up, but when it's when it's only if you roll a 1, that's you're likely not going to get benefits out of this in some games.
Well, no, but it's each time you take a wound.
I'll just pretend it's a glowy Howitz from the old.
Yeah, but if you take so maybe it should happen at least the first time you're attacked. Possibly.
And you can always heal them back. So like I agree. I just love. I forget who said it. I love the story of it. I just love this.
Yeah.
You make a little story. You name the Gribbly and you send him in there, and then hijinks ensue. Right? No, it's awesome.
Rob, if I stand up, I'm still here.
No worries. Cool.
I like Keith's comment of it's like Princess Bride. It's like I am the dead god Trog boss. You have squished my back gribbly. The dead.
It's so godlike. Oh man. Okay, we're on to some spell lore. Um, we are approaching the 8:30 mark. I would like to cover some of the war scrolls and stuff like that.
Yeah,
As
very
well.
quick run through the spell lore is all the Moonclan spells are decent. They're
Yeah,
all pretty similar
absolutely.
to the old book. So like you have the only difference is Itchy Nuisance is now just your turn, not both turns.
So Itchy Nuisance, casting value 6, 18-inch range, pick one enemy unit, has to be visible, strike last applies to that unit until the end of the turn.
Yeah, so it used to be both, and now it's just yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a longer range now. I think it used to be 12.
I think it was 12
before.
Yeah.
And so this 18-inch just makes it so easy because then your fungoid is safe from being seen while he's still casting that.
It's true.
So, yeah.
I used to put the Arcane Tome with the you have to reroll hit rolls against me command trait on my Loom Boss on Mangler, and then I was rolling around trying to cast that spell, and more hijinks ensued. Yeah, I mean it's a good utility spell, and one thing that we should mention is even though like if you're taking a squig list, you're probably taking squig lure on at least one caster.
Yeah. I usually put mine on the Gobapalooza.
Yeah, and I've usually got Hand of Gork as well for teleporting shenanigans. Super long range, but can't be in combat. That's important to note. But it is also important to note that Scragrot has the whole lore. So if you have him in your list, you have access to all these spells all the time. I'm not trying to get into him ahead of time, but it's important to kind of know all of these spells because they're all good. Right?
Yeah. I've been running Itchy on the Fungoid, and then Squiggler on my Gobapalooza. Because usually turn one, you're not going to get Mesmerize off, so I usually do try and do the Shadow Bubble for the -1 to hit, and then Squiggler on a unit on Squigs.
That's a great call. I was doing the opposite, but I think I'll switch to that.
Yeah, and then because my guy's jumping forwards anyway, so you can try and get your Itchy Nuisance off with your Fungoid. And then Scraggy's free to either try and do Scuttle Tide if you want to try and get it with the +1, or he's doing a shotgun spell.
That's a good call. Has anyone ever gotten Nick It off and like broken an artifact of power? Oh.
I haven't broken it, but I got it off.
Nice, yeah, me too.
I've done the D3 damage. Just getting a 10 even with the +1 is pretty hard.
It's gonna be so cool when someone does it though. You guys
it's
all have to
fun
tell
to
me.
ask your opponent too, like, all right, where are those artifacts?
Where are the artifacts, baby? Yeah, I'm gonna Hand of Gork, and then I'm gonna break your toys, you little, whatever. Yeah. Anyway, I think we covered them pretty good. Does anyone want to add anything to these spell lores? Like they're all pretty good. Okay. Let me know if you guys think of something. We can always go back. Okay. Spider Fang lore. I haven't, to be honest, I haven't really. I think it's kind of similar to before.
So Curse of the Spider God's the one that really jumps out to me on the here if you're against things like Warriors of Chaos and stuff, because they fail on rolls of 1 out of 2 instead of just a 1. Yeah. So because they can like get some good armor save stacks and things like that, against anyone actually, if you can do think about like Kragnos or things like that can get those multiple armor buffs when they already have like a 2 or a 3+ save.
Yeah,
so having sites where we're already doing a lot of rend with some stuff, but having the ability to be like, oh, you fail on the 1 or 2, even shooting, like you think about those units that are trying to snipe your guys out that are now failing on a 1 or 2 when they're usually on a 2+ to hit you.
Yeah, because it's double full. Just to explain to everyone, it's 7 to cast, 24-inch range, which is really good. Pick one enemy unit within range visible to caster until the start of the hero phase. Phase hit rolls. Hit rolls for attacks made by that unit always fail on an unmodified 1 or a 2 instead of a 1, and save rolls automatically fail on an unmodified 1 or a 2 for that unit. So it's like quite the plethora of debuffs you're throwing down on them. That's really fun. And like you could argue that for the 65 points it costs to just have a little web spinner shaman on foot, you know what I mean? Like just take him for that spell, and you're maybe doing some serious debuffs. Because if you get that off on Kragnos, you're just like, oh shoot, right?
Yeah, but nobody plays Kragnos now that we don't need him in our
I
block.
still play Kragnos, but only in Cruel Boys. Yeah, I still haven't played him in Gitz. Okay, so Scuttling Terrors, though, casting value of 6, 18 inches, friendly Spider-Fang unit wholly within range invisible to the caster. That unit can make a normal move. That's kind of just a fun utility spell as well. Don't really have anything to add. I think you're only taking it, though, if you're taking multiple spider units, probably. But it is a cool
I have it
utility.
in my 8 giant spider list.
Hells yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was about to say, if you're taking like a big monster mash of spiders, it's a decent thing.
Absolutely.
Because you're because of what spiders, what 12-inch move?
10-inch move on
10 inch.
the riders.
So you're getting 10-inch in the magic phase and then 10-inch in the movement phase.
Yeah.
Like that spider's getting where it really wants to go.
Exactly. No, it's really good. Sneaky Distraction is 7, 12-inch range. Until the next hero phase, subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by enemy units while they are within range of the caster. So he's just kind of going in there and debuffing the crap out of everyone. I like putting that on the Web Spinner Shaman on Giant Arachnarok and then just throwing him up the field and just kind of debuffing stuff. But yeah, it's a fun phase to do, or a fun thing to do, but
That one is actually pretty good. I would take that one instead on the foot guy,
yeah.
because if you're gonna get it off before you use Tunnel Master. So you could put Tunnel Master on him,
Oh, that's a good
and then
call. That's
against the
interesting.
shooting army, you could just pop him out there, put him in range to debuff the shooting units, and then
That's a cool idea. I like them both because the 24-inch range means he's just tossing it down the field at a distance, like a long range pass in football or something like that. But yeah, they're both. I mean, I love that too. I mean, why not both? Why not just take multiples, right? If you're
Right.
specking into spiders anyway.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing spiders, you'll have all three somewhere.
You'll have all three, absolutely.
Yeah, because you're gonna need at least that much magic support.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Now we're into the factions. Yeah. Okay. So starting with the King's Gitz, they just get to re-roll the dice to find out whether a unit comes back.
Yeah.
I think if you take an MSU army
Yeah.
with Clammy Hand and that, you can.
Is Clammy the hand word? Is the Clammy hand word the one where you get to do it on twice?
Yeah, twice.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So twice with rerolls, and
that's what
especially
I'm
if you've got
seeing.
like units of 3 Trogs and stuff, you're getting 2 Trogs back.
Yeah. Or 9 Trogs, then you're getting an extra one as well.
Yeah.
Or spiders, it's quite good. You're getting.
Or even
3.
if you're taking 2 packs of 36 squigs, because you definitely need to get those back.
Yeah, so
which
true.
is why I'm taking it right now. Because if they do manage to kill that block, I need it back. And yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you're not specking hard into one thing, I think this is the clan to take, or the horde to take, or whatever you want to call it. There is also Bad Snatchers, which I think was the one that everyone kind of jumped to for mixed hordes originally, kind of going like, this is broken, but then once you realize how few Moon Clan wizards there are, and the fact that you can't take it on Zarbag, you can't take it on Scragrot, you're left with a Fungoid, which is awesome, and the Madcap Shaman, which is not awesome, and then That's it, right? Am I forgetting?
Spider Fang's keyworded as well.
Or if you take.
Well, you can use it on Gobblepalooza, I think.
You can use it on Gobblepalooza. That's right. And then the other thing is if you take an Arcane Tome on whatever, on like a Loot boss.
You're taking your entire faction thing for essentially, because even again, like if you've got Scraggy anyway, you've already got access to all the spells with +1. It's like
exactly.
I think it was very much a thing I was interested in, but then as soon as you realize the keyword thing, it was like, no.
It's funny.
If I could use that on Zarbag, I would be playing it all the time.
Oh,
if you could use that.
Yeah. Scraggy and Zarbag, if you could use it on them, it would be so good.
It'd be so good. You would see it a lot. And you know what I'm actually sad about? I actually get them not putting it on Scragrot because he is the King's Gitz or whatever, right? I think they should have had it on Zarbag. I think he should be a bad snatcher keyword guy locked even. And then, but what I actually wanted them to put it on was Spiderfang. If it was on Spiderfang, Spiderfang becomes so much more interesting, and it really opens up the field for the whole army. But this is not the world we live in.
Right.
I did make a joke today in our local group. I said I actually think that spiders are a huge problem, and they're super strong in the next book in 2027 when we get another book. But we're still waiting. Maybe the third time's a charm.
That's cute. You think we're gonna get one that soon?
Yeah, 2027. Well, isn't that's about 4 years, right? that's about par. We'll see. Yeah. Sad get noises. Okay, now here comes the juice, y'all. Jaws of Mork. Add one to attack characteristic of fang-filled gob, massive fang-filled gobs, and huge fang-filled gobs used by friendly Jaws of Mork squig units if they made a charge move in the same turn. This is basically all the bite attacks for all the squigs, all the best parts of squigs is, for the most part. It's really good. It's really, really good. If this was like a spell, you'd be like, this is the most auto-take spell ever, and then it's just a faction. It's just a thing that happens. Yeah, what do you guys think, man? Like, is this the best clan ability?
I mean, if you're going squigs,
Yeah.
boingrots, then
Assuming
yeah,
you're
'cause, like,
specking. Assuming you're
yeah.
specking. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, if you're not, then, you might be swinging more towards some of the other ones. But, like, if you're taking, I mean, to be honest, even if you're taking one unit of 36, it could be worth taking because that 4 attacks on the charge, potentially 5 with Snuffle buff is
Yeah.
just, can be scary.
Do you
Yeah.
think they messed up giving
No,
this stuff?
I don't. I say that because there's King's Gitz and Glog's Mega Mob are so good, and even
Yeah.
Grimscuttle is so good that I don't think it's bad that there's Jaws. I'm playing 2 blocks of 36, and I'm not using Jaws. I'm using King's Gitz. So I think that it's fine. I think that people who want to
I'm
lean
just trying to.
into the face smash have
Yeah.
that option.
It's
But I think
definitely more aggressive. Yeah.
yeah, I think what it is it's a win more
Yeah.
type faction
Oh,
ability,
100%. Yeah.
and you don't necessarily need it. So if you're taking it, you're probably hurting yourself, but you're definitely gonna feel good about yourself when you get to roll that many dice.
It's so much
The
fun.
main,
This
Like,
is
the main reason I've been taking it is because I've actually been playing the mirror match a lot recently to get practice against other Gits. And when you're running against like netters and stuff, and if Dobby's not in range, hitting on 5s is not fun.
right?
So hitting on 5s when you have an extra attack makes it feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
that's a good
That
I
makes
point.
take
total
it
sense.
because I like rolling a shit ton of dice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also
Yeah.
it is the Timmy. This is the Timmy faction. This is like the Timmy section. It might as well say Jaws of Timmy on it, right?
I hear you keep saying that. What do you mean by that?
Oh,
It-
it's like
it's-
the psychographic profiles from Magic. Timmy is the guy who just wants to have fun, have large things go off. He likes to play with monsters and that kind of thing.
Didn't Vince do something recently
They
as well with
last
like a
week,
triangle? With,
they did it.
I saw it on Twitter.
Yeah,
So-
with a non. It was not an isosceles triangle,
Yeah.
right?
So like Jimmy players are ones that just like playing things for fun. Timmy players are ones that like taking stuff they can throw in or something and just have things. And then there's like another one which is like tryhards, basically.
There's Spikes who like to win, essentially. If we're
Yeah.
breaking it down really, really simply, and then there's Johnny who likes to do complicated things and express their sort of intelligence. But it's a great show. Would recommend highly to anyone. And they go over the new, what are they called? The new Regiments of Renown that are coming in, and they actually do a pretty good deep dive on them. So yeah, check it out. Last Wednesday, Warhammer Weekly. Okay, now we're going on to some more juice. We've got Glog's Mega Mob. Each time a friendly Glog Mega Mob Trogoth unit fights, after all of its attacks have been resolved, the effect of its regeneration or greater regeneration ability is triggered. Okay, so this is obviously good, right?
So good.
But
So good.
so I don't want to
And
bring this up.
frustrating for your opponents too.
Oh
Your
my
opponents
God.
just get so frustrated. They're like, I just did that. You just
Like, I'm not even choosing this arm on this unit to go first. I'm gonna let you hit me just so I get more value out of it, right? So it says now this is not. I think it actually needs an FAQ. I'm not playing it like this, right? But I foresee the future. I'm the little skink Starseer guy with my little globe, and it says after. It does not say immediately after, and I think they need to add that because there are going to be people. You know, like there was a guy who asked, "What does holy within mean?" I foresee this being like an issue down the line, so hopefully other people have also written in and just said, "Hey, you guys should clarify this." Like, there's also like there's a couple of mistakes in the book that we probably won't go over, but like Scragrot has +1 to cast and unbind, but not dispel. I think that's just an actual mistake. Like, I think that's a typo because everyone else has it across the board. But yeah, anyway. Uh,
I actually think this is one of the strongest, probably if not the strongest.
The Megalodon, yeah.
Interesting. Would you care to extrapolate on that?
Just look, Rob. I have a GED. Okay, we got 2 syllables, bro.
Would you care to elaborate on that?
Yeah. So the army is already so resilient just in itself, being able to heal every hero phase.
Yep.
And if I'm not mistaken, it's every hero phase, not just your hero phase. And
it is now. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
And then having the save stacking, and then being able to dish out, it's not just resilient, it's also hits like a truck. And then on top of all that, you're also healing every time you fight. So it's I mean, like,
which could be both player turns. So yeah.
and you compare that to, so you got like Jaws of Morg's +1 attack. Do you really need that on 32 squigs or 36 squigs? Probably not. I do it because I like rolling a crap ton of dice. Yeah. Then, like the re-rolling of the Loon Shrine is just, it's to make sure, like,
it's consistent.
To me, this is the one that like changes games.
That's interesting. See, I actually thought it was King's Gitz was what I thought was probably where the strongest kind of thing is. But you guys, you're
if I was
convincing
taking
me.
a Trog boss and a unit of 6 or 2 units of 6 Trogs, I would take this over Jaws.
Interesting.
Yeah, even in the mixed arms. Yeah.
Even in mixed arms. Yeah. Just for the fact of like your Trogs are going to be on a 3-up, 5-up if they're in the light of the bad moon. More if you've got shield, defense, all those other things on. And as Ricky says, you just kind of become this meat shield where you just laugh at your opponent while you take this damage, and then you just destroy them back, and then you're like, oh, I'm healing.
Yeah, well, and then on top of that, like, if you're doing mixed arms, you have a bunch of screens, so you're picking your fights better.
So true.
So you're not going to be taking as much damage, and when you do, it just heals right back. So it's super solid. When I played my Trogs with it, it was frustrating for the opponent to just be like, I'm going to swing at you. You send the Trogs in on really, bad units anyways, on chaff units, and they're like, I'm not even going to bother rolling because I can't kill a whole Trog statistically, and you're just going to heal it right back. So let's just speed it up and just go ahead and kill me.
Yeah. Especially if you throw the with the survivability thing, you throw the Gobblepalooza in with them as well with the -1 to hit bubble. You don't even need the Grots then. You're just getting that stacking. It's great.
It's true. And I do want to bring up, so I know you guys aren't as hot on the Fellwaters, but Matthias brought up having a unit of 3 Fellwaters behind a unit of Rot Guts. Just for the -1 to hit bubble, right?
I theorized that. The problem, and I think it works in theory. The problem when you start leaning hard into Trogs is you lose a lot of board presence.
Yeah, absolutely.
And taking 2 units to hold one little area doesn't help you, doesn't serve you well.
Right.
When you're just doing it mostly to get potentially an unleash hell
Yeah.
and a -1 to hit, and then on top of that, rock guts don't really need the -1 to hit. They're already going to be on a 3-up, most likely, and
Yeah.
they're already going to have that 5-up.
Yeah.
I have watched things that can tear through just about anything else in the army bounce off of that unit. So I don't know that it's worth it. Like, I think yes, it's a good theory. I thought about it too. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this with this. And then I'm like, well, I'm running out of points. The first thing you start cutting are those little -1 units because they're not holding a board presence for you.
That's true.
So you're wasting them.
It's a good point, but into something like Chaos Warriors or like Chosen, they charge in and then you unleash hell, and they're just like, God dang it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, and to be like there's going to be times where it makes a lot of sense, but
For sure.
I think and if you're doing that, if you're taking small units of 3, in some games you can just send them off to hold the board somewhere.
Right.
And then the games where you think you're going to get charged by those chosen warriors, that's where you put them in the second rank. But because that army probably also suffers from a board presence problem as well. So
Interesting.
there's an argument to do it, but I think taking Fell Waters, you don't take them as your front line, you take them as a support, and yeah, I think they're just way too easy to die, and they cost the same points as rock guts, so just take a 5-up ward. You know?
Yep. No, I agree. I like it. I want to try and make them kind of work. I just like them, but
yeah, they're great.
But I've got an interesting idea I'm kind of working on, but we'll kind of see if it pans out.
Yeah.
So that's Glog's Mega Mob, the second coolest unit. And now we're on to the coolest absolute faction in the book by far, the Grim Scuttle. So their rules are a little bit more complicated. I think it just boils down to the fact that if you take an Arachnarok, they can have up to 2 units join them, and then when the Arachnarok comes in for the first time, he can poop out those 2 units, and that's basically what you get for taking Grimscuttle. I maintain that they're the coolest, but what do we think tactically, boys?
Well, this is what allows you to do the null deployment with Gitz if you really want to.
Yep.
Not that that's always the best thing to do, but it definitely is an option. If you roll up against somebody who you know is going to outdrop you and they're an alpha shooting army, you just don't deploy and and let them decide what to do.
Yeah.
So like that's
hell yeah.
I think I agree with you. Like, I read it and I'm like, this is so cool, so fun. And honestly, for mixed arms, if you're doing like say a Moon Clan Grimscuttle or Spider Fang hybrid,
yeah,
taking Grimscuttle is gonna be awesome. Like, I think it's gonna work for you because then you can, throw those spiders which you're gonna try and use out there in interesting places. The main problem with it though is the pie plate.
It is. I was gonna bring that up. I'm glad you did.
Yeah,
160 millimeter base.
Yeah,
is ridiculous.
It's gonna be tough. You're gonna find if you're playing in a tournament where players place terrain, the opponent could get really cheeky with the placement and zone you out completely if you're taking too many Arachnaroks. So you probably have to take
no
some little
such thing.
spider, right?
Yeah.
Can does it have to be 2 Spider Fang units, or can there be any units?
It's got to be Spider Fang if I remember right.
Because then you could take,
I see where you're going with
2
it.
Mangler Squigs with it.
It says, instead of setting up another friendly Grimscuttle Spider-Fang unit, you can place that unit to one side and say that it will join a friendly Grimscuttle Skitterstrand Arachnarok in ambush. Up to 2 units can join each friendly Skitterstrand Arachnarok as a reserve unit. And then, they all come in within 12 inches, wholly within, and 9 inches outside of enemy units. I did want to bring up one fun thing, though, that I was thinking about in this current GHB, which is you take a little. Oh wait a minute, no, doesn't work. I was gonna say for the cunning maneuver, but he has to be on the battlefield for you to choose him, and he can't be in combat, so it wouldn't even work. Never mind. It was a thought I had.
No. You're gonna get a free tunnel master because you're gonna have one anyways. He deploys behind your shrine, way at the back corner of the board, and he just tunnel masters out. So it's effectively a null deploy. If you're going for cunning maneuver round 1.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah, you throw it on him, and then you've also got that spell, and Bob's your uncle, right?
Yeah, and then you drop 3 or 4 monsters in front of him, so he's safe.
It's so true. I love Keith saying Skitterstrand or Ragnarok's nightmare fuel fluff on those things.
Yeah. It's like, I think my list with this was one of the big general was a big guy on Spider, whatever they are, the shaman
Web
on Spider.
Shaman,
and then one of the foot guys, and then 3 of the Skitterstrands, and then the rest were war parties. And I think you end up with 5 war parties, and you get to null deploy with all of that.
Oh,
so
man.
It's a lot of monster.
No kidding.
And war parties are great right now because they count as 10 on objective, and it doesn't fluctuate with damage. So if you can get 2 of them on objective, that's a lot of wounds that have to be whittled away before you can get through them. So
that's a great point. Yeah, because there's 16 wounds now on a 4-up, I think. That's super fun. And then if you have snufflers, you can make them even more durable. Cool. I love it. Okay. So then we'll talk about grand strategies and battle tactics, and then maybe we'll hit on some of our favorite units, and then call it a night. I think that's cool. So grand strategies. Why don't you guys just tell me if there's any that you like other than protect a shrine? I think
chasing the moon.
Yeah, chasing the moon.
Oh, really?
Chasing
okay.
the moon is the one to take. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Protect the shrine, I think, is actually a crapshoot because sometimes people are going to crack you and get in.
That's true.
But chasing the moon on any general standing behind your shrine for 3 turns is almost guaranteed.
Just to explain, when the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy. If the model picked to be your general has not been slain and have been affected by the light of the bad moon for at least 3 battle rounds. So yeah, I guess you put that on a Trog boss with a 4-up ward, and you're just kind of going.
Or just a fungoid shaman who can't be seen unless he's within 12 inches, and he just sits back there like, "What you gonna do?"
That's what I do. I've had some kind of mobile, eel and other situations where he's gotten picked off because once you're in there on him, he doesn't have his 4-up ward anymore, so he's sitting out there with his mushroom in his hand, so to speak. So,
which is why I've been doing it on the Trog boss, because he's super cheap because I do the loon skin, so he gets the endless spell. So essentially, you're paying 115 points for a guy who can be pretty hitty and tanky, who's just going to hang back. He doesn't need to push forward because my squigs aren't getting command abilities. So he just hangs back. He can go into stuff if he needs to. You can buff him up either defensive or aggressive.
Yeah.
But you have to do work.
It gives you an option for this one's mine too, because he could potentially one's mine somebody.
Yep. That's why I love having a hitty general.
You can also potentially do the which one is it? The You Ain't So Big as well, which is killing an enemy monster with a Trogoff unit.
Yep. And I think they have to be in the light of the bad moon. Actually, well, we'll get to that, right?
Yeah.
So okay. Anything? I mean, I actually do like the Loon Shrine one, just because lately, if I'm running Jaws of Mork, no one's getting into my deployment zone because I'm just flooding the board.
Yeah, I mean, the worry I had for that is just the fact that someone could teleport or drop Canaries or a little unit that can just pop, because you just have to have a unit within 12 to stomp it. So even a tunnel boss guy
you can't,
could just...
But it is, you gotta, so I'll read it out. When the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy. So you can't drop Canary in there in turn 4 or 5 because they're destroyed, right? But there is lots of teleports out there. There's Hand of Gork in this army. Yeah.
Tunnel boss too. If someone saves that, they do it turn 5 and just pops a guy in 9.
You could do that, absolutely. There's, I mean, Skaven, I mean, most factions have some, or not most, but a lot of factions have some kind of teleport that is, can be.
Also, 12's a big range as well. So even
It's
just
true.
units that can fly fast or something, it's
And
risky.
something we didn't talk about with the Skitter Strand, I don't think we talked about it, is that you have to, in Age of Sigmar, if everything doesn't come down by the start of turn 4, it's gone. But that doesn't mean you can't leave with your Skitter Strand in turn 4 and then have it come back on turn 5, and then you could ruin someone else's grand strategy. I still think it's actually solid though overall. Like, I think it's better than the GHB ones anyway. For now,
it's not bad, but you definitely have to be cognizant of it and
protect it for sure. And I mean, you're probably getting units back as well at some point on a 4-up. Anyway, yeah. I like it, but I'm gonna try Chasing the Moon.
Chasing the Moon's like a
the other two are too risky. Like trying to do anything where you have to get 4 of one faction's battle tactics, not great.
That's crazy.
And then the superior spellfinger having 2 endless spells on the battlefield at the end of the game. Again, like the endless spells aren't cheap. The Gitz ones. So you're talking about like 185 points or 165 for the lowest options.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can take some of the cheap ones, but yeah.
You get matched up against Techless or something like that. Good luck.
Yeah, you'll never get it. Thanks, Kairos.
Yeah.
Thanks, Vanquil.
Yeah.
So battle tactics. Why don't we just say the ones we really like? Because there's 6 of them.
I actually like quite a few of them.
Yeah, I know that's the problem, right?
I think basically all 6 of them are useful at least at some point. There's probably none of them, and I've actually scored probably most of my games I've been playing have been half these, half GHB ones. Yeah. So they're getting used.
I use 4 of these, 1 of them or 2 of them every game, except for Venomous Assault because I don't have spiders, and also Glory Glabbers because I never roll 4 pluses to get a unit back. So
right.
Yeah,
I think I've rolled like 4 or 5 in my career of playing Gitz.
I do basically the same 3 almost every game, which is the Stab 'em in the Dark, which is the one I set up for, and then the
Follow the Moon, and then
Moonlight Raid and Follow the Moon.
Yeah.
Follow the Moon is the one where you have to have more objectives, I think, and
Follow the Moon's basically everyone contesting an objective has to be in the light of the battle. Oh no, that's the one. Sorry, where everyone on the battlefield has to be in the light of the battle.
Yeah, and you have to control more objectives. Yeah, that's what I was saying. So that one I think is the easiest because at some point it's going to cover the battlefield, or you could just make it cover the entire light of the battlefield. Yeah. So like if you know that you could just walk onto objectives, which is a lot of the time. Like I did it last night, and it was like I know I'm going to get this. There's nothing he can do.
Right, exactly. You usually know that because you move the moon before you roll priority.
Before you roll priority. Yep.
Yeah, you're gonna get if you can get this right away.
Exactly.
You're like, yep, taking it.
it's such a it's such a reliable choice.
It's good. As soon as that moon pops there, and if Scraggy keeps it there for at least 2 turns, you have a 2-turn window to really guarantee that you can almost get it, and then
And You Ain't So Big, I really like too. It's just like
it's a good option. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that one?
That's
kill a monster with a Trog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's like most monsters. I'm like, if I've got 6 Trogs, like even if they roar them, I'm like, yeah, you're probably gonna die. Like this is
Is it just any Trog or?
It just says Gloomspite gets Trogoth units, so it can literally even be like a set of 2 of the Dinkhold Trogoths. If you want.
And you only have to pick the monsters, so if you fail with your Trog boss, you can still get it with the unit or something.
Yeah, that's true. Cool. That's a good point. Yeah, you just have to pick the monster you're going to attack. Yeah. It does allow them to redeploy potentially, and your Trogs don't necessarily move super well.
It's just like if you have something like this one's mine, and your Trog just fluffs or charges.
Exactly.
Like charges mess, but this gives you that.
And what I did against Matthias was I just had a unit of squigs just move back in behind a monster, in behind Thankwol, so he couldn't
Yeah.
redeploy away from him, and then I just moved the other unit up, and he still redeployed, but I don't think it did enough.
That's what Ricky was saying about the spiders. That's what spiders are good for.
That's
Yeah.
true. They are super good for that, and I just need to finish off 5 more painting. Or actually, I've painted them. I just need to base them. But okay.
Dale.
But yeah, so I think we covered them pretty good. Okay. So I believe. Oh, then there's the battalion. I do want to talk about this thing. I love it so much. So it's just a Trog boss and a Dankhold Trogoth unit. It's such a great way of getting an extra artifact. I absolutely, or whatever you want, but probably artifact, because there's so many awesome artifacts, right? Because you want the glowy howitz anyway. So this is like just a super cheap and easy and reliable way of just getting another thing. The only thing I will note is that it can't be, or is it a unit? Could you have a unit of 2 Dankhold Trogoths in this battalion, or it's just 1, right?
No. So the unit or Dankholds are no longer a unit. They're a single guy now, I think.
Oh, you can't reinforce them?
Yeah, I don't think that they
did not notice
Let me
that.
look. Dankhold Trogoths are 1 model, and I don't believe. Well, I guess it doesn't say that you can't reinforce them.
Well,
so I
yeah,
guess you
say-
could.
Does it say
Yeah, you
single?
can reinforce Dankholds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's
Yeah.
not a single.
It doesn't say single?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I'm super hyped about. Those things. D3
They,
plus 3. Woo!
Yeah,
Woo!
they have a
2
better attack profile than the boss.
Much
which
better.
Which is
Yeah.
kind of funny.
We were chatting about this before Ricky came on at the start, and yeah, two Dankhold Trogoths, because their bravery 6 now as well. So if one does die, the chance of it, you fleeing if you can't all out defense is inspiring presence is pretty, you're safe.
Quite low. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the fact of you can buff them with the Trog. We can get onto these in a minute, or if yeah, they can slap.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
And then they get extra attacks if you give them the all-out attack from the Trog boss himself. They're fun too. But so it just says a Dankhold Trogoth unit. So you could have them reinforced and still take this battalion. It looks like to me. You could also take 2 Trog bosses and 2 and then to have 2 extra artifacts. Like that would be fun, man.
Yeah.
That would be fun. I could see going for either.
And then you can still take Warlord as well.
Yeah, you could still take Warlord.
Take, like, free
Oh my God.
Get a Strand Spider, get like the Spider dudes for 180 points.
Oh man.
Yeah.
You'd have to
mean,
take 4 of them, but yeah.
Dale was there when I got these, but when we were at LVO,
LVO.
I was like,
Nice. Yeah.
I had to get them because
I
I already
wanna-
have 2, but why not 4?
Exactly.
I just ordered. I ordered the 2 of the. What are they called? The Cruel Boys trolls. That
Yeah.
I ordered
Dobby?
2 of those.
Oh, the Meyer Brute. The Meyer Brute.
Yeah, and I got the Grot Blood Bowl team.
Nice.
The Goblin Blood Bowl team, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna have them like hanging from chains and stuff, and riding
that sounds
those,
dope.
and those are gonna be my Dankholds.
Oh, I love it. You should get like some of the plastic chains from GW, and you could have like the Grots kind of holding on from the Loon Boss kit on Mangler, because there's a few extra Grots in there that you could use. That sounds dope.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. Are they on the same base size?
Nope. I'm gonna have to cut their legs to like have them running.
Okay, cool. No worries. I was curious. I was like, that's a great idea. I might steal it. Dope. Okay. So I think we are on to units. We won't talk about Kragnos because he hasn't changed since anything.
Everyone is my favorite unit.
I love Kragnos though. I love him so much. But okay, so we got Scragrot. I feel like we cannot not talk about Scragrot. He's one of the most auto-include units as he sits right now. Do you guys? Okay, let's start off with. Do you think he's underpointed?
Yeah.
No, not
only
really.
only by maybe 20 to 40.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go nuts.
I agree with Dale. But Ricky, I really want to hear what you have to say because I
I
want
don't
to believe, right?
I don't necessarily think that he does that much in most games, other than kind of stand around and be a pylon of the
A
moon and
moon.
everything.
Yep.
Like his people seem to save dice to dispel his spell, and even when it goes off, it's usually pretty low.
It's
So I
that's
haven't
true.
super nuked anything. I'm usually just casting Hand of Gork with him with the +1, and I could do that with the other shaman.
Yep.
So he's for what you're doing with him.
Yeah.
Like what I'm doing with him in most games, he's appropriately costed. He's not carrying the game. He's
No.
not a
It's been
combat hero. Gitz don't do enough magic, and they're not intended to do enough magic to be like a magic threat to other magic armies. So
He does have a 4-up ward, which is
I mean, I think his main play at the minute is he's like a super great buff beast because he does the 12-inch bubble of the moon,
and it's mobile.
and
Yeah.
he does the free CP a turn.
Yep.
Yeah, but you could spend what is it, 80 points and get the endless spell, and it does the same thing.
Yep.
And then,
yep.
I mean, like we've all said, we end up having extra CP at the end of the turn anyway.
Yeah.
That's true, but
Yeah.
you do have to get off the malevolent moon, and I haven't gotten it off yet. Like it's just.
I like.
Well, that's a Rob problem.
That's true. Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah. Sustained.
See,
yeah.
For my can't summon units back, I have bots cast the shotgun spell a couple of times, and it can be really brutal when you just like dead.
I didn't get off a single spell yesterday against Andy until like battle round 3, and he had no pluses to unbind. So you make a great point, Dan. Sustained for sure. Yeah, you know what, Ricky? Honestly, you kind of convinced me. Like, and honestly, like Ledificus in the chat said, "What's the highest you'd pay for Scragrod?" And that really kind of underlined it in a great way. Where I'm just like, you know what? Like, if he goes up to 180, I'm probably taking him out in favor of 2 fungoids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'd rather
I
have
think
2 fungoids.
they're gonna have the same problem if they raise his points any
Yeah.
more than he is now.
Yeah.
He's coming out of every list and getting replaced by 2 little guys.
2 little guys.
And that's how he was in the whole last book.
Yep.
Like
He's so
I painted
true.
him.
Yeah.
And so like, is that what they want to do to him?
That's a great point. And he's not even a GC right now, so he's
No, he can't do any of the fun stuff. He can still be targeted.
Well, so actually, I just remembered this. He is a War Master. So
that's a good point. That's a great point.
Which is good for his free CP because it gives him that 18-inch CP
well,
usage. But you don't need CP.
I know, but you know.
Yeah, so I'm the same because so for instance, I've got him my Trog boss is my general, so he gives my Squigs battle light because he's a war boss.
That's another good point. And honestly, so like the other thing too though is like if I'm comparing him to an Arch Warlock who I think is the same cost, you get way more out of Scragrot than you do out of an Arch Warlock. Like he's more survivable, although he is a named character, which is actually a pretty significant debuff, and he's not a GC because of that. But we can't really compare where points are in this current season. The points are ideally supposed to last for every season, right? That's why I kind of feel about the Squig Herder the way I do. But
he's also only 6 wounds with a 4-up ward.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. He's easy to kill.
Yeah, he is easy to kill.
And what's his bravery again? It's pretty
6.
low.
6. That is the most annoying thing.
You can never get your heal off on him.
You'll never get heroic recovery.
Yeah. And that's true with Gitz across the board, which is why I feel like you can't increase points on Gitz heroes because they're squishy as hell, and you can't recover them.
You know what? You know what though? If he goes up 10 points, I still take him sometimes. And the reason is this. Once per battle you roll a dice, before you roll the dice to figure out where the bad moon goes, you just get to say. So if you just really need it for a battle tactic, like there's value there. There's
to be honest,
value there.
If he went up and Gobapalooza didn't become unique, I would just get another Gobapalooza.
Yes.
Uh,
That's
yeah,
true.
I keep Scragrot until he goes up to over 200.
Over
I keep
200.
him.
Yeah, I can
Yeah,
see
I'd
that.
pay 200 points for him.
That's fair. I think I don't.
I think 200's my cap. Like 180,
Yeah.
200's my cap.
I agree with what you're saying, Ricky. I because there are games that I've played that I thought, and I actually after the tournament I just played this last weekend. I actually thought about it. I was like, why do I have Scragrot on my list? I didn't even use him. But then I remembered that I only played one turn of my first two games. So,
Yeah.
but I was like, but there are some games where I'm like, he's not even doing anything. He's just sitting here generating a CP that I don't even use.
yeah, and I think he can go up and he's still gonna see play, but I don't think it's warranted necessarily.
He's gonna go up because everybody and their mother puts him in their list.
And because people complain that he does too much. But
I think
it's that squeaky
a
wheel
lot
thing.
of people are actually because people take him as an ally as well. Because as an ally, you can do a fair chunk of work.
Interesting. I don't think I would take him as an ally, but that's very interesting.
I mean, you think about it in like some armies, like Sons of Behemoth, or no, I don't think Sons of who's it take it just orcs.
Huh.
Because I mean, he's a 2 for 160 points. He's a 2 cast with a 2 dispel with +1.
Yeah. And his custom spell is quite good because
it's literally a Larial spell.
Yeah.
It's a goddess's spell, but better.
Because it goes off on a 3.
Just kind of goes off.
Yeah.
It's what you roll that matters.
It's what you
like,
roll.
Can you dispel it or not?
And he does get +1. So as long as you're not,
Larial doesn't even get a bonus.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But Larial sucks.
I think he's really good, but again, like I think he's
and Larial isn't a War Master. Yeah. I agree.
I would hesitate for them to, and he's like quintessential Gitz. Like why force him out of lists? I think he's just a fun thing to have in there.
He's our only like.
You know what though? You know what? Here's another perspective on it too. Thanquol is the most auto-take Skaven unit in the book, right? Not that Skaven like are doing particularly strong, but he went up 15 points. He only went up 15 points, and he is the most auto-take Skaven unit, right? So how much do they really increase him by? 10 points? Like,
oh, I'm sure they'll take him up probably at least 10, maybe 20.
I think 10
he's probably still auto-include in most stuff under 200.
Yeah.
But I think you're gonna find lists that you'll start writing where you're like, nah, I'm 20 points over. He's the first thing to go.
Yeah.
Because I think
especially this season.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not a GC.
But
okay,
it's tough to say, but he's good. Super good.
I think a lot of the things, because there are going to be some points increases, obviously.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the things are only going to go up 10 points. I don't think they're gonna. I think they're scared to knee jerk the reaction.
They should be, because the Gitz players that have been around for so long, like I said at the start, like if they go too crazy, then the people who've been playing this for so long are like, you know what, I just quit. I quit all of Age of Sigmar because I'm stuck with this damn army, and then you're gonna knock the teeth out after it just finally got like a competitive, edge. Anyway, funny enough, the second most, like arguably the most auto take thing in the entire book comes right after Scragrot. Gobapalooza. 45 points off the top of my head. 3 wounds, 6 up save, 5 models, 4 up ward in the first battle round, 5 up in the second, 6 up in the third and on. A plethora of amazing abilities, particularly the extra rend that you just point and click on a unit wholly within 12, but still really good because it just happens in the hero phase. You can teleport them in. 2 cast, 2 unbind, 2 quite useful spells, an actually halfway decent attack profile.
You're muted, Dale.
With the D3 damage, Yeah.
It's only a 5 model unit as well, so you can go quite wide for that wholly within too.
Yep. And I just want to point out down here, Moon Clan, so it can be
Yeah,
rallied
Valiant
on a
4
4 up.
Which is hilariously funny when they
not
do it,
unique.
especially the free wounds.
Yeah, and not unique, by the way. 15 wounds on a 4 up turn 1. Like,
And
Yeah, I
you can bring
expect him to make them unique. I think
I
that's gonna
think,
be
and I think that's the
yeah.
right choice as well. I
Yeah.
think that's the right choice.
and you can bring them back from the Loon Shrine.
Yeah.
You can bring them back from the
Yeah.
Loon Shrine. It's yeah. Now you won't be able to do that if they make them unique.
Yeah, which
No.
they should be unique.
Yeah.
I mean, even lore wise, like they're supposed to be
Yeah.
like the council for the Loon Boss. I mean,
For
And,
sure.
and their spells are pretty good as well. Like
That's what I was
one's
saying,
a
man.
-1 to hit bubble
Yep.
of 12 inches, and then the other one is they can't receive commands.
The other way to go about this too is to just say that you can pick one Gobapalooza per turn and they get these effects. I actually think that would be a reasonable thing. And then
I was just make them unique.
yeah,
It's
I
fine.
mean,
Yeah,
make them
I think
unique,
that just solves
and
it.
then they don't come back, and then that kind of
Yeah.
solves 2 problems. That's probably the right call.
Yeah.
But
I
you
think
know,
I
they
think
should've
if they don't raise the points and they do that, it's fine. But if they raise points and make them unique, they're gonna be in the same situation where we just never take them again, probably. But I do
Yeah.
think that the fact that you can take 2 of them and double Rend stack to get, Rend 4 squigs is not
it's pushing it.
fair to the world.
Yeah, because it's point and
So-
click too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like Rend 3 squigs, great, sure, let's let that happen. But Rend 4 squigs, I just don't think should exist
Ren
in
5
the
with
meta.
Purple Sun.
Yeah.
Ren
so let's-
6 with the Moonface Moppet.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Well, I'm factoring the Mommet in there as
Oh,
part of
were
that,
you?
so
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was wondering where that extra Ren point came from.
I think they should have. I think they should have just made them all like 4-point characters or 40-point characters.
Yeah, that would have worked.
That would have really helped because then the leader slots would be kind of maxed
Well,
out.
they couldn't do that because any wizard has a built-in tax of about 70 points. And
That's
so
fair.
you would have
Yeah.
the wizards be about 70 points and you'd have the other guys be cheap. And then also that's 5 if you want to take the full complement, then you're having to fill up all but one
like
of your
300
hero
points.
slots.
Yeah.
And so you would have a general and then Gobapalooza, which
Yeah,
we're already kind of stuck with enough heroes that we're making hard choices on some of them because we're like, I want to take Zarbag for fun, and I can't because I'm already at.
It's almost
So-
always full.
It's true. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, honestly, they actually have a plethora of options to kind of solve this problem, I guess. But for now,
The one thing
enjoy
I
them.
think we know is they're not going to change War Scrolls. I don't
Yeah.
think.
For the most part, yeah. Excuse me. The one I'm thinking of for that is the ogres, the noblars. Like, anytime you move, charge, pile, or do anything within 6 inches of them, you take D3 mortal wounds. That feels like a typo, am I right? Like, I feel like they did not, think about that before they did it. Like 100 points, or no, they were up to what, 120 now? But
Yeah, I mean, and that's. I think nobblers are totally fine. Like when I heard that come out, I was like, well, just don't pile in. Just charge in, take one
charge
D3,
in,
and then
take
don't
them
pile
off.
in.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
But if you move within 6, you take it, and then if you charge, you're taking another D3.
I guess from my perspective as a person who plays either hordes or trogs with a 5-up board, I'm like, I don't care about that.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm going in and I'm squishing those little bastards.
Yeah, that's
You just
fair.
stay 6.1 inches away and risk the 6-inch charge.
Yeah.
Although then they can also they can redeploy and potentially make it into a 12-inch charge. Like, I agree. I'm not saying they're broken. They're definitely not broken. I think they were underpointed for sure at 100 points with that crazy ability is insane. But 120, yeah, Like, I mean, you're not seeing them
I
everywhere.
would have been fine with them not raising them, but yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what? Like, I'm with you, and I like it when they do like as light a touch as possible. I still think that was a
Right,
typo.
like-
Like, I don't think they meant for all that to happen. But
Probably, yeah. But I agree with the increase on the cannons because at this point the most you see now are 3. But I kind of feel like the Noblars was maybe an overreaction. You know?
yeah, no, I agree. They went up. The cannons went up what 20 points each, or 30 points because they were 170 to 200, right?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
went up a good amount.
And then-
That's a
It was-
lot.
And Noblars went up 20 points, which is a 20% increase. So
That's true.
that's
That's not insignificant.
that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, like the thing about the cannons was I actually wouldn't take them up to 30 points. I probably would have suggested 10. And then like if they needed more, then do you know what I mean, and kind of go slowly. But they might have nailed it on the first try because like people are still taking 3, but you're not seeing.
I think
4.
I think they were looking at a way to force you to not be able to take 4 plus the big stone horn, and I
Right.
think they had to put the points somewhere, and I think that's where they put it. So
I think that's a great call actually. Carson's asking if we're doing shrooms. In a manner of speaking, Carson and I are playing a battle report tomorrow, and I think it's going to be a narrative report of more ogres, also known as Morgors.
Morgors.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about the Loom Boss or the Madcap? We're gonna have to kind of rapid fire a little bit.
Madcap's worthless. Loon Boss is the best thing in the book.
Dang.
Yeah, Loom Boss is super fun.
If you're playing Moon Clan, I assume like heavy Gitz.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
They changed his ability. It's so much better now because you can
Unless you
auto
have
attack and give the 6-up wounds to 6-up mortal wounds on 6s to wound. Before you could only get the 6s to wound or mortal wounds or all out attack. So
Wow.
he's better now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's really strong. Squig Boss with Nash's Squig, another really strong unit.
But again, he's a 6+ armor save with 4 wounds.
He is,
So
and I agree.
Yeah.
And I
he's
think
just a buff bot. Yeah.
he's really strong in this current season, and then next season he's going to be difficult because any little pot shot and he's gone.
Yeah.
You know.
For me, once he's used his free move thing, I don't care if he dies.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mine literally
Agree.
runs away.
Yeah, I agree. He's I think here's the what you're saying is totally right, Rob. Like if they increase a bunch of points across the army next season, if they take away galley champs, then all of a sudden they're gonna have to come back and lower points because the army's just gonna start falling apart again. And so we'll have what 3 months now that we're going to be able to play and have a good time, and then it just becomes just an untenable army again.
It's true,
So.
and and he does have the once per battle at the start of your hero phase. You can your squig herds,
which
can
is
move.
hard to use.
It's super hard to use because you most of the time you want him to be doing the 6s or mortals, and you can't probably keep him in range of that. Unless you're doing
you just rat tail.
You rat tail, exactly. Yeah.
Yes, you always leave a rat tail. But the thing that's tough about it is it means subsequent turns, you can't hand a Gorkum out to where he needs to be to do it.
That's why I was putting Tunnel Master on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, by the way, we're trying to get Matthias to play Skaven and have an actual rat tail in real life. But
yeah, that'd be great,
wouldn't it? But he said
he would look sharp with a rat tail.
Yeah, tell him, man. You gotta convince him with us. He said he would rather have.
You know what I'll do is I'll cut off a piece of my beard and we'll glue it to the back of his head,
and then we could just like glue it on. Hell yeah.
We'll just sneak up and give him a little pat on the back, and he'll be like, "What was that?"
Little piece of tape
pat on the back.
Yeah. Just saying, my precious, and then I walk on. I brought up the Loon Boss with Giant Cave Squig to Dale. I actually think he is stronger than he's getting credit for, just because of the Battle Shock thing. Like his ability...
but you can't use him on Squigs, so...
I'll be right back. 1 second.
So, At the start of the Battle Shock phase, you can pick one other friendly Gloomspite Git Grot unit.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. And they don't have the
Yeah.
Grot keyword?
So you can't use. They don't have grot anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, then
yeah.
that's useless.
Yeah, because I was the same. So he originally my plan was to tunnel boss him.
Yeah.
Up, so then he would be there to battle shock my squigs, and then it was like, oh no, it's Gloomspite Git grots. Check the keywords. They don't have grot anymore.
I didn't notice that. I don't have the model. Like I have Skarsnik, but I was gonna use it for something else. So.
Yeah.
I love it. I love Snarsky.
Yeah, that's true.
Skarsnik is the original OG. Still my dude.
He is so sick.
Grimcrack is the same. He's still really useful, but because he's now, I think the thing was like before the new book, he was in most of the new Gitz list because he was such a solid piece. Now we got the new points. He's 190.
Yeah.
I find better options.
Yeah, I just think he's a little overpointed, but there is something to be said for like a backline holding 36 squig unit that fights on death and has like 6 as
It's a defensive instead of aggressive.
It is, indeed. Absolutely.
He's in my
and then there's Zarbag as well.
What's that, Dan?
Like if we're jumping through some, Zarbag has got a really good spell. He's just a lot of points and without any buffs to his spell.
Yeah, without, you mean to cast. Yeah.
Yeah, but, if you could put him in bad snatches, he'd be great.
Right. Dan, did you want to say something about Grimcrack?
Yeah, I was just saying he's in my Moon Clan list because you put him with the 60 Gits and they fight on death.
Heck yeah, I like it, especially if they've got the Loon Boss buff on them.
Yeah.
And then Sneaky Snufflers need no introduction probably at this point. They have a 5-up ward. They are 2 wounds on a 6-up, save with the 5-up ward as I mentioned. They have 3 attacks from their.
They used to have 2 attacks, hitting on 5s and wounding on 5s.
Yeah.
And now they can actually do work in combat.
Yeah, -1 rend. They're 4s and 4s now. -1 rend, 1 damage, and then they've got Nasher. Their Truffle Squigs are 2 attacks, 4s and 4s, no rend, 1 damage. Worth mentioning. But the reason everyone's taking them now is because at the start of the movement phase, you can see that they were harvesting loon cap mushrooms. They cannot move if you do that, but you add 1 and you add 1 to this roll if they're in the light of the bad moon. On a 1 to 2, nothing happens. So basically, on a 2-up in the light of the bad moon, they give a unit a 5-up ward, and then in the light of the bad moon, on a 5-up, they add an extra attack. Really strong. They're not easy to use because you can't move them thereafter.
Yeah.
You can, of course, Hand of Gork them like everything else, but you're running out of things to use Hand of Gork on, right? Like, you can't Hand of Gork everything.
If you're,
and Hand of Gork is a 7-up, so it's still hard to get.
It's a 7-up, and
I fail it all the time.
Yeah. I didn't get it off once in my game against Andy. It was very frustrating.
Yeah. Also, I don't think there's anything that says you can't do it twice on the same unit. So if you were fishing for that ward save on 1 unit, or even the ward save on +1, you can use 2 units on the 1. They don't stack or anything.
They don't stack, but they could. If you fail it, there's nothing because it's an ability. It's not a command, a command ability or whatever. You can just do it until you can't. Yep, that's a good point. There are 100...
Ricky, did you recently add the checkers? It looks really good.
Nice.
Yeah, I did.
What?
To my, I have the flame sweeps, and now you've got the checkers. That's really cool.
Whoa, what is that?
Yeah.
Did you guys? Yeah. Did you paint it on yourself like Dale did?
No, this is sewn on. I just sewed them on there.
Sick.
Yeah.
Wow, that's classy.
Yeah, I did that this last week sometime.
Nice.
Is that a robe?
This is our club hoodie. The club hoodie, and then I got Dale's patch that he gave me there.
Nice.
So I can represent the clans.
That's the symbol on his breast is the Dimensional Cascade. That's the member of the club that he is, which is a local to the Seattle area.
Seattle, yeah.
Yeah.
Central Seattle.
Central Seattle, cool. And then we've got the fungoid, which we've been talking about a lot, and we've already mentioned that he doesn't get to. He can't be seen outside of 12 inches. I forgot last night that on a 4-up you get an extra command point. I actually didn't even roll that once yesterday in my game against Andy, and I was still a surplus.
So
Man.
he got buffed. He went down 5 points. He lost his 4-up ward save, but he gained that you can't target him with spells shooting anything outside of 12.
Yeah.
But also his mushroom. When you take it now, it's any spell
Any spell
Yeah.
in
you
the
can
lore.
pick, which
Yeah.
is just really good as a backup cast.
It's so good.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
if I read it right, and correct me if I'm wrong here, he can take the mushroom before he casts his first spell, just to have access to the other spell, and then he can still cast his other spell,
Yep.
whichever one he had selected.
That's how it currently
'Cause-
reads. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
that's
at
correct.
first I was playing it wrong, where I was like, okay, I have to cast his spell, then I can try and take the second one, and I was like, oh, this is. But I finally figured it out. I was like, oh man.
And the funny thing is his bound spell is still garbage. Like it's not.
No, it's not. I got to use it,
Really?
and
What?
yeah, I got to use it when it goes swimmingly, and then also consider spell portal with it. Um,
Spell portal.
yeah,
Oh, interesting. Okay, well, just to read it
spell
out.
portal with that spell just nukes like castles
Oh,
and dense
Also,
man. You're dropping
because
bombs,
he's in an
Ricky.
area like you could literally walk him straight towards a Lumineth army. They
Yeah.
can't target him, can't shoot him. He can cast spell portal, which would never get off against Lumineth, but he could do it.
Yeah.
Put the spell portal right in the middle of all their sentinels, and then just start nuking them all.
Oh,
like
man.
so.
Mwah.
Yeah.
Also, the signature spell for the realm is pretty good as well.
The-
If you
Yeah,
can get it
yeah.
in range. That's the one where any unit within 6 an objective takes D6 mortal wounds on a 4+.
Well, the other
Yeah.
thing too is like
So-
even theoretically against Lumineth, you could use him last, and then use like Scragrot spell and like all the other spells which on in her face seem so much better, right? And then once they've run out of unbinds, you're just like, here we go. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, try for that lucky spell portal and
Try
try
for that
his
lucky,
lucky
like,
scroll.
that
Yeah.
long bomb, like actual long bomb.
Yeah.
I
The,
like
the
it.
the main problem with it is then you're spending so much in spell portal just to try and do this one trick. But
That's
if it
true.
works,
If it works, you are having fun and you're winning.
I think it would be good for bad snatchers though, because I think
Ooh.
that's where you would be taking those guys, and that's where those guys would shine. Would be bad snatchers
Oh,
with
man.
spell portal, and then they could be nuking that.
And then
popping that bomb.
even against like you cast a couple of spells, even if you're against Techless, you know what I mean? Like he can no longer just unbind. Like you could if you're re-rolling one of those dice, it's not that unlikely that you get an 11 and he has to actually roll dice for once, right?
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, we'll see. You know.
I think if you go against Zeech and Lumineth,
Oh, Zeech is tough.
You probably never win. So the Magic game. So you need to not lean in on bad snatchers too
And
much. But
specifically,
I think,
you mean Lords
again,
of Change, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. But again, I think that the book, as it stands now, because the points are fairly generous.
Right.
In favor of the Gitz, and there's so much good stuff that you can have something super good be your backbone, that you can play with some silly stuff like that and still have a good time and still probably win the majority of your games if you're playing smart. So
I love it. Keith says the spell would probably go off against his LRL, but he doesn't use Techless, and he also doesn't take Sentinels. So, yeah.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of any other army that would want to be in a nice little castle. That might actually work quite well.
Yeah, there's quite a few of them out there, including other Gits. So that's a great point.
Yep.
You could bombing some squigs off and then kind of making them use their battle shock immunity or whatever. It has play for sure. Also, Keith, that's because you have a soul. And moving on. So Loon Smasher fanatics are. We'll kind of have to do a bit of a rapid fire. I know it's late for Dan as well. You're at 12.
I have to be at work in 3 hours.
Oh my God! What the hell? Yeah, so it's 12:30 where you are. That's wild. Okay. Do we need to talk about Loon Smasher fanatics?
They're amazing.
They are amazing, and they can be rallied now, which is amazing.
Ooh.
My Moon Clan list has 2 units of 10 in it and 2 units of 5 in it.
Oh man. And you no longer have to put them inside a unit, I think, right?
And they don't die if the unit dies.
If the unit dies.
Right, that's important.
It's amazing.
They should have always been that way.
Here's something that I would posit. If you're doing the units of 10 of them, also take Grin Crack and make them fight on death so that they will always strike first, and then when they actually go to kill them, they kill them again.
Smart. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, it becomes a nasty trick. So Grin Crack just walks up with the stabbers.
Like, wait, what's the big deal, guys? Why is he? Oh God!
Oh God! What just happened? Yeah, you could have Grin Crack walk up with the Mommet there as well, and all of a sudden they become a terror for people.
Oh dear.
So
yeah, 10d6 attacks on 4s and 3s -2 or -3 with the Moppet. D3 damage, like mother.
Yeah, and with all out attack in the game now, they're so much better.
Yeah,
so much better.
That's.
I liked them in the old book. I would put them in bounty hunters. It was really fun.
Oh,
yeah,
geez.
yeah, that's a smart move.
Wow. What about the Spore Splatter Fanatics? I know a lot of people were freaking out and saying how broken they were at 90 points, but now I'm not seeing anyone talk about them.
They got worse, which is what people don't understand. People think they're so good because they give +1 attack within 9 inches, but they used to give +1 attack in 9 inches in the hero phase.
Oh, so then you can leave them they can just go outside of the bubble and away you go.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, their random movement, they're hella squishy. Their line of sight blocking ability really doesn't work as well as people think it does.
Right.
They're good. No, you're not gonna see them in lists because there's just better things for 90 points. You'll get more use out of Spider Riders for 90 points than you will those Spore Splattas.
That's a great point. Yeah, at first I was like, well, you just hand a Gork them, and then you've got, you're rocking in 18 attacks, or no, more than that. Oh no, that's 18 attacks from your trolls. Like I was like, oh man, this is so broken, and I was like, but now it's like I've never gotten a hand of Gork off, like almost ever. Not like a couple of times.
So
now.
Anytime your tactic includes the words hand of Gork, you're already failing.
You're already failing.
So,
B, because 2d6 movement is the worst thing ever. Like
you should not plan your Gitz army around hand of Gork at all.
Yeah.
It's a nice to have. If it works, great, use it. But like I roll it every time, but half the time I'm like, I didn't even need it this time, but I roll it because, I'm just out of habit. I do it, but you can't count on it.
No.
Even with Scragrot, +1, even with Scragrot +1 and Arcane, it's not reliable enough.
Usually, I'm I'm usually trying with my Fungoid or Scragrot, and very rarely getting it. Mostly, if I really want it, I try to save it for the end, and then hope that like some of the other spells, like Scragrot's War Scroll spell, is gone off, and they're more worried about that, and so then I can kind of sneak it in there. But cool. Okay. Moon Clan Shooters and Stabbas. You guys definitely have more opinions on these things than I do. I don't even own any.
Oh, they're amazing. Both of them are amazing. You'll always have a list, even your skew list. Like if you're taking all Trogs, you're still probably going to have 1 or 2 units of these. Even if you're taking all Spiders, you should have 1 or 2 units of these. It doesn't. My Squig list has 1 unit of these.
Wow.
Yeah.
So does mine.
Why?
Because they're highly efficient chaff for one thing. So they can screen out half the board if you need to screen out half the board, doing a conga line with a triangle at the end. They have a champ, so they're actually something that can use CP. Yep. They're Moon Clan, so they can be rallied on the 4 up. They have the way the netters work now is so good.
Yeah,
so good.
That's
Yeah.
true.
And if you know you're going up against an alpha, you're dropping those in the front and you're staying, 3.5 inches behind that, and you just don't care because you'll bring them back from the shrine later. and, and they're just that good. They're just
Dang.
always that good.
You're making
And
very good points.
the thing that you'll tell your opponent this at least 5 times every game, and they will forget every time when you tell them, until
Yeah.
you do 1 wound to my stabas,
Yeah.
they control this objective even though they're outside of 6.
Yeah.
So
I knew what you were
you
gonna
could
say.
be,
Yeah.
and like you tell your opponents that and they still forget, and you're like, I told you.
Yeah.
And so all they have to do is do 1 wound, but there's so many other things they need to do 1 wound to. So most likely than not, you have a unit of 20 of them standing outside of the objective, and that doesn't factor into their brain because of that.
Um, yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Ledivicus said it feels like Stabus should be cheaper than I'm starting to talk like a Git. Cheaper than Shootas to me.
No, no.
Interesting.
I think that it's perfect that they're the same points cost, because then you get to make the choice of what way you want to play your army. And
I like
yeah,
it.
like, you can shoot or you can stab. Don't
Very
make it
Git.
so that, because most of the time what you're taking these things for most of the time is going to be a very cheap and effective chaff unit. And if in the previous book, it was always shootas because shootas were cheaper, and you just took shootas,
Yep.
and you never got to use your stabas models. Now sometimes I write a list, I take shootas just because I want to roll some dice in the shooting phase,
Yep.
and sometimes I take stabas because I want to play with more objective control. So I think that they need to, if they do any point changes on those 2 units, they need to keep them at the same level so that we can have that fun choice.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it, and they are doing two different things. And as a general rule, I just like it when, like you said, you're just choosing between what you want to do more than anything. I think I get why Lodificus is saying that, though, is because, like, traditionally shooting units are just more expensive. Because,
Right,
yeah.
right, but they don't shoot well.
No,
They
they
do a
don't.
bucket of dice,
They
but they
shoot
don't
better.
shoot really well.
They shoot
They
better.
do have they do have the netters in there,
Yep.
which is why you still take them. You can
Yep.
still take them, and it's totally reasonable to take them. But because they added the 9-inch rule to stabas,
Yep.
stabas become a better choice in some lists and in some metas in some games. So I think it's nice that they gave us that choice.
I agree. And I like what Keith said. He hopes that it's a one-off for the controlling something within 9 inches instead of like a new trend, like the 4-up rally, for example. I agree with
Right,
that. Yeah.
right. I mean, this is what happened last time Gitz came out. So when Gitz came out, Fanatics were the first thing that had always strikes first,
Yeah.
and
Oh, that's true.
then several more books came out, all with always strikes first, and all of a sudden our Fanatics weren't good anymore
Yeah.
because it became an arms race of ASF.
That's true. And I mean, and so
So
it wasn't worded that way, but I guess the first one was actually Idneth Deepkin because that was AOS 1. But it was worded differently. It was like
right, right.
it wasn't always strikes first. Looks like we lost Dale, but he's probably turned into a pumpkin. I skipped over the snarl things. We already talked about them. We have talked about the loom boss on Mangler, but I just wanted to bring
Mhm.
up, so his movement characteristic at his top bracket is 10 plus D6. That's
Yeah,
really
it's
cool.
insane.
And like
Mhm.
before, when he was on his top bracket, he was the same as he was on the bottom bracket. Now he's
Yeah,
better on his bottom bracket.
yeah,
And you can make him fight with Green Crack, I think, still, right? Because he's Moon Clan.
yeah,
So you
yeah.
could do that.
Yeah. Grincrack's ability is super open.
It
It's
is.
really great.
Yeah.
It makes for some really interesting possibilities. The hard part with Grincrack's ability is the 3-inch range. So he has to be up in it, and
That's
you're
true.
probably not gonna have your Mangler next to Grincrack unless you're doing a defensive maneuver of some kind.
It's true, but he can slap this guy. Mooncutta, 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1, 2 damage. Huge fang-filled gobs. 4 attacks or 5 on the charge in Mork. Hits on 3s, and then that changes quite a bit depending on how many wounds he's taken. Wounds on 3s, -1, d6 damage. 7 attacks, 3s and 3s, -2, d3 damage, and 4 attacks, 4s and 4s, no rend, 1 damage. It's a lot of attacks. It is very, very swingy. It's like really swingy.
But super fun. Such a fun
so
model
much
to
fun.
use.
Maybe the funnest model and one of the prettiest ones in the whole book. Also, once per battle, you can just add +1 to wound for all squigs wholly within 18 inches. It's like I just used that the other day. I just threw him into the end zone, and then I popped that, and so my squigs were wounding on 2s. My squig herd nearby, because it just says squig units. So
Yep.
Really good, really fun. I do think he's overcosted.
He is overcosted. He's the one thing in the book where I didn't agree with the points on him.
Yeah.
Everything else I felt pretty fair. And in 1 or 2 cases maybe undercosted, but for him definitely overcosted. It's prohibitive to take him at this point. If you're taking him because you love that model.
Yeah.
But you're gonna have a list that's gonna be pretty weak because of that in other ways. So.
I really think the play for the most part is usually just to take regular manglers until his points come down to a reasonable level, because then you still have access to the monstrous action where you can bounce into the back and pick off something that's important. But yes, right now I think he's kind of overcosted, but we'll see. Squig Herd God. Oh man, we've already talked about them so much. 120 points, 5-inch move, 2 wounds, 6 up. Can't take commands.
5-inch plus d6.
5-inch plus d6. Sorry, I'm just trying to run through it as fast as possible because I do need to be gone by 10 at the latest.
Bravery 3.
Yeah, 3. Yeah, bravery 3. Can't take commands. 3 attacks unless they're Jaws and Mork on the charge. Then they're 4 attacks. 4s and 3s. Dobby's a huge important kind of piece for this unit because he's just giving them 17% more hits roughly. 4s are very unreliable, but then wounds on 3s. They can come back in combat from the herders. They're really good and arguably undercosted now. I don't know what else is there to say about them that we haven't already said. Like,
I think the vicious thing. Oh, you go, Dan.
I just think I think people need to look at the whole picture.
Yeah, absolutely.
Instead of just looking at them. Like if you singly look at the war scroll of the squig herd, I would say that they're pointed correctly.
Yep.
Or maybe just like a 10-point increase. But if you widen that scope, you include, the marsh crawler, you include sneaky snufflers, you include Alpalooza, you include this, you include that. Like, of course, they become insane.
They can become hyper efficient.
Right. So you just need a couple little adjustments here and there. I just really hope they don't.
Hopefully they don't break everyone's toys.
Hates destruction winning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to
in
take
order
a lot
to
of
make
buffs.
them super good, you have to throw a ton of points into them.
It's
one of the things that makes them
points.
good is a 4-wound hero. Like,
on a 6
I think
up.
people need to just calm down a little bit.
I agree. There is something to be said. Eric said that the thing that he likes the least about them is that you can get half the unit back, on a 4-up, Oh, hey, Ricky, thanks so much for becoming a member.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Well, Eric, you said Eric?
Yeah.
Eric, if it makes you feel any better, I've never had to roll it because they usually just kill.
Yeah. God dang it, yeah. I don't know if that helped or not, but I appreciate it.
His was the first game I actually had to roll to get the unit back, and that's just because 10 chosen when they get to attack twice.
Oh, Yeah, they'll
Slaps.
do it.
Yeah.
Yep, that'll do it.
I still haven't gotten to because Andy took them down to one guy left. And I was like, I want you to kill them. I don't want you to leave them. But it did deny his battle tactic. Um, they're good. I agree with you guys. I really don't want to see anything more than a 10-point
Yeah,
increase.
maybe like
but
10. Because
yeah,
again, you need a lot of buffs. And those buffs have specific ranges. So a lot of the time, you get to do a turn where you buff them up and then they're out.
very tight. And
Yeah,
you
because
can't
how
move
many
back.
of the points, how many of the units that we use to buff that unit after we buff them that first turn,
Yeah,
they're useless.
Yeah.
exactly. You're talking 560 points with just the herder and the snufflers, and then if you add on Gobblepalooza, it gets really quite
Yeah.
prohibitive.
About 685 altogether to
Yeah,
go
like
all in on it.
that's crazy. Yeah, that's over a third of your army. So anyway, yeah, I think we're all on the same page for this. The Loom Boss, not really seeing him lately. He can't even fly yet. I think that's another typo in the book. Like I genuinely believe
Yeah.
that's got to be a typo, or just like
He's a bit more hitty now, but again, he's the
But
same cost as like 5 point grots.
exactly, and he's not a GC. So
Wait, they
now-
forgot to give him fly? I
Yes.
haven't even noticed that.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's no
my
way that
God.
isn't a typo because he had fly
Yeah.
before, right? So
Yeah, exactly. Like he's useless without it.
He'd be so good if he still had the plus 3-inch movement.
Because
Yeah.
Boingrots and Bounders have fly, right?
they
Yeah,
sure do, and he's
Yeah,
bigger.
there's no way. He
And
doesn't
he's
have
like,
fly.
yeah, yeah. No,
Steve said he had too much cake.
it's a typo. I
Yeah.
think hoppers and bounders. We're gonna start putting these guys together. We got 9 minutes before I need to run.
Sure.
They are pretty filthy. Like the thing with them is they can be reinforced twice in a moon thing list, and they can get the 4-up rally.
So yeah,
So that's
hoppers.
the power of them.
Yeah, and they've got the same amount of attacks. There's the same profile as the Squig Herd themselves.
Yeah.
They can take commands. They can 4-up rally, and they can come back. So you're getting like 15 guys back if you take a max unit of 30. They do have a 1-inch range, and they're on a 32. But still.
Boingrots hit super hard.
Yes.
I was running a unit of 15 of them this last weekend, and they hit hard.
And they have a 2-inch range on their lance, which is fantastic on that 32 millimeter base. Not on their Fang-filled Gob, of course, but you know.
But they get Jaws of Mork with the Fang-filled Gob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you still can't take them in Galatian veterans, right?
No.
Okay, because they have a mount. But still, good movement. The hoppers have even better movement, but so far I'm just running bounders myself. I don't know about you guys, but
The hoppers
Yeah,
are funny because you can have 30 of them flying over things doing a 34 mortal wounds
Yeah.
with
Right,
a 10 plus 2d6 move.
Yeah,
If
and
you
they
run them.
and they can be a battle line in
Yeah.
any Gitz army, which is really nice.
that's a great improvement. That's a great call out, actually.
because it gives you that mortal output across any list you write if you need it.
That's a great point. Yeah, they're both awesome. I think we're going to see a lot more of them if they take Squig Herd up. Manglers, I like them. You know, I think for their current point, they're actually pretty good. You know, the only problem is that you can't give them all out attack, and so when they go way deep into the back line, you can't really buff them properly. But other than that, you know, like, other than that, you know, they're pretty good, and they're fun, and they get a really cool monstrous action. Dankold Trog Boss, we've talked a lot about him.
Mhm.
He's really good. He's one of the better units in the book. I think we all agree.
He's the boss.
He is the boss, yeah, and a cool model to boot. I think we've kind of talked about him enough. Alpha Trog, Glowy Howitz.
Bite your tongue. We've not talked about the Dankhold enough.
Can never talk about a Dankhold enough. The Dankhold is too dank. The Trogoth's 2, 4 attacks, 3s and 2s, -2, D3 plus 3 damage. Also, they can ignore spells, same as the other fellow, on a 4-up. Yeah. I don't know what else to say, really.
Beautiful boys.
Yeah. Beautiful. I actually like the Dankhold Trogoth better, the model, than the Trog Boss, but by a little bit. I just like his big hammer. Fellwater, we talked about them. Rockgut, we talked about them. Scuttle Boss. Actually, we didn't really talk about the Scuttle Boss. I don't know if it's worth mentioning or not. He does have some interesting tech play. If in the once per battle at the end of the combat phase, you can say this unit will order its warriors to scuttle away. If you do so, pick one friendly Spider Riders unit, so only Spider Riders, not an Ragnarok, wholly within 12 inches. That unit can immediately retreat, both units can retreat in the order of your choice. So that's kind of an interesting objective grabbing kind of thing you could do. Yeah. Do you guys want to add anything?
Yes, I would pay $3 billion for a new model.
Yes, agreed. We still haven't seen the whatever that spoiler image thing was. I'm assuming it's going to be a Warcry warband or something like that.
Yeah. The spider face thing with the one eye.
Yeah. Web Spinner Shaman, we talked about him. Spider Riders, Arachnaroks. Oh, actually, the one thing we didn't talk about is the Flinger.
Oh, it got way better.
Oh yeah,
it turned out really good.
Do you guys think it'll be better in this new meta against Squigs specifically, having their movement? And
Squigs,
I think it's great.
Night Haunt. I've seen there's a lot of Night Haunt.
Oh, that's a good
coming
call.
up around where I'm at.
Right.
So yeah.
Oh, I'm on the wrong thing. With Flinger, so the Flinger has a 36-inch range. Excuse me. The attack's characteristic is the same as the models, and the unit to a maximum of 20. But against however many Squigs you're facing, you're probably getting 20 dice. And then it's what is it? It's 3s and 3s, no rend, 1 damage. So you're putting a decent amount of damage on a unit of Squigs and having their movement. Like, that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, the mirror match is actually the thing that probably scares me the most.
So
Dale, when we inevitably play this weekend.
yeah.
May the best Git win.
Indeed. I think we've covered everything. Is there anything you guys want to mention? We've talked about everything in here, I think, at some point or another.
Take Scuttletide. Scuttletide is great. Scuttletide gives you, because you're probably going to get forced to take the first turn when everything's out of range, Scuttletide gives you something to project threat and do damage on your enemy.
That's true. Cast it from outside of Unbind Rage. It pops out of a terrain piece, and Bob's your uncle.
It's pretty good for taking out Legion champions, and it can just be a pain in the ass for getting in the way.
Yep. So if
I
you're
want to know
playing
why
against,
the heck they thought more expired mushroom needed to go to 100 points.
Yeah, good point.
It's still too random for that points cost, but
I agree. Yeah, I like the Scuttletide. I like the Malevolent Moon, but
I wish I had it for this weekend. I wish I could have afforded it in the list just for the mirror matches. Oh my god, against others.
I had it instead of the Scuttletide, but in a game we both had it, and I think we got it off once, and it killed like 3 Squigs.
Yeah, it's just, I don't think it ever does as much as you think it's going to do. I was running it before the new book came out, and I was having fun with it, but never doing as much as I was hoping. So yeah.
I mean, for 40 points though, like that's okay. But like for 100 points,
or even 50, I would take it at 50 or 60.
I think
but I'm not going to take it at 100.
Like on the benefit of 5-up, if it was going to be 100 points, or it would do it in the magic phase and the shooting phase or something. The fact it's just like in the shooting phase, it's like.
And I'm not even taking Scuttletide unless I'm taking the free endless spell thing, just because 85 points, like I can never fit 85 points. I don't know about you guys, but like I can fit like 60 or 65 points, but I can never fit 85.
Most of my lists I'm keeping, I'm not going over like 1920 anyway.
Oh, okay. But even if
I'm at 1935 right now.
Really? Yeah. 1935, like capped out?
Yeah, because you want the Dominable Triumph, and then I usually take the bonus to get the second Triumph, so I have 2 Indomitable
Exactly.
Triumph.
Shoot.
That's what I'm running too.
I'm not, but I'm not that guy.
Now, here's
I'm
the thing.
Timmy.
I've been doing that, and
Yeah.
then in all my games, I've only used them actually once or twice because I actually want the squigs to flee and do more
Totally.
mortals.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I always do the math. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna kill this mini potentially. That's fine. I'll do a bunch of mortals, and then I'll rally back this mini. Yeah, it's worth it. Let's just not use it. But there's definitely gonna be games where I'm gonna need both of those, and so I took them.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And here's the nice thing about that is because we, like we said, we're expecting there to be a nerf. The nerf will probably be done through points. If me and Dan get used to playing underpointed like that and they raise the points, we could play the exact same army
Dope.
with
Dope. Heck yeah.
most likely with the new points because we'll be used to what they've done.
You guys are like, we're
So-
used to ankle weights, so we want to keep a little ankle weight on just for,
Yeah.
the foreseeable future.
Yeah, you'll find you could probably play 200 points down on Gitz right now and probably be okay, which does kind of tell you that maybe they need some points increases, but you know, playing playing 65 points down right now is what I'm playing, and it's a close game most of the time. But I think a smart player could go 200 down and do well.
Wow.
I'm not that smart, but somebody is.
Don't sell yourself short, sir. Gentlemen, thank you so much. This has been a really fun episode. I do need to run now. But thank you both for coming on.
Yeah, man.
I didn't get a chance to add your guys' Instagrams at the bottom or however you want people to reach you. Do you want to just shout out real quick your Twitter or Instagram or anything you want to promote?
Yeah, you want to go first, Ricky?
I have Instagram. I don't know what it is. I have Twitter. I haven't used it in so long. I'm not sure
Yeah.
what's on there anymore.
Fair.
So, yeah, I have nothing to shout out except Sparkle Party, which is this weekend, but we're sold out. So, meh.
Well, message me in the future anytime you want. We'll put it in there.
Sure.
Awesome, Dan.
The only thing I would want is check out the Death and Destruction Facebook page. It's our local group if you're in the southeast area for AOS. We got a lot of tournaments in the North Carolina, Virginia area.
I'm in there, and it seems like a really great group.
Yeah, man, we try. New players, older players, it doesn't matter, man. We try to competitive, fun. We try to include everybody. And then, do you care if I do like sponsor type things?
No, go for it. Do it, man.
Baron and Dice. He's one of our sponsors for our club. He does custom dice. A lot of people are starting to actually pick him up. He's got amazing dice.
Very popular.
And then
baronofdice.com, I think.
Yeah, baronofdice.com. And then our local game store who supports us a lot is bazookagames.com. You can order anything from them online and they'll ship it out to you as soon as you order it from them. That's anywhere in the United States.
Heck yeah.
I think they do international. I'm not sure. So
Okay.
you weirdo Canadians might be able to get something from them.
Probably. I know Baron of Dice does ship internationally. So.
Yeah. And if you use Club D and D for either one of those, it's an affiliate link for Bazooka Games, and it's a $2 off discount for Baron.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you both for coming on. It was really fun. I think I've been playing nothing but this book whenever I can, but I still learned a lot. So appreciate you guys. Thanks as always, Dale.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. We'll see you guys